It is, of course, going to be Unicorns of Love versus Trovo Nova in the Group B upper bracket final. These are two teams we've been hearing a lot about, not only in our content, but also when we've been looking at the brackets, we've been constantly highlighting them. It feels fitting that they've both made it to this point in the tournament, Max, right?
Yeah, it's some of the two biggest orgs coming into this Group B, of course, and two teams that have been participating in so many tournaments. We especially talked about Nova, Trovo Nova, that has been clearly seen at the very start of the year, I would say, when the game just released, as one of the best teams, if not the best team. Then you have the very clear rise of the likes of Tribe, also the old Na'Vi roster to contest that kind of position that Trovo Nova has hold. But it's been very clear improvements, and I think we saw that on their match of yesterday, and hopefully they can continue on that launch. But here's going to be Unicorns of Love to try and contest their spot to make it into the grand finals.
Right, I'm getting word from production. I can see the hook in the corner of the stage pulling me off of it. I'm going to disappear and let you guys right back into pick and ban.
We'll see you later, Trib. Thank you so much, as always. Good job on the desk, but we're going to get right into the jar phase once again for our third and final series of the day here. Scoundrel Trovo Nova versus Unicorns of Love. And I'm especially hyped to see how Unicorns of Love has improved, because we saw it also on that little video segment where Coldstar said it felt very shaky at the very start, but now they're feeling extremely confident. So I'm intrigued to see how far that confidence can actually push them in a match versus Trovo Nova.
I think Trovo Nova are the toughest. I think these are the two best teams in their respective group. And I think a lot of people have kind of pegged Trovo Nova as the best team and potentially the favorites coming into this matchup. But having talked to a lot of pro players, talked to a lot of teams, a lot of them do believe that it is going to be a tough competition between these two. And Unicorns of Love certainly are not going to get 2-0'd as easily as some people may be thinking from the outside. So I'm expecting a close series. Of course, it's Wild Rift. Anything can happen. We could just see a stomp either way, realistically. But at the end of the day, Unicorns of Love are a good team. They're good enough to fight Trovo Nova on even ground. But Trovo Nova, I do think, come in as the slight favorites in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you make it to the semifinals, you're definitely good enough to give it a fair shot. Ari being banned away. A little bit of a surprise onto that one. I think there's a lot of champions that could have been taken off the board, maybe likes of a Gragas, also Camille. Known you are on the red side, you want to get rid of those. As I mentioned, a Camille, I would have maybe liked to see that one then taken away, but Trovo Nova will take that one first. Is it going to be jungle? Is it going to be Baron lane? We'll have to wait and see.
Think, yeah, the flexibility is what it offers, right? So that's the point of the first pick, Camille. Can't really say either way at this point which one it is going to be. The Ari feels like, whenever you see an Ari on red side, it's usually like a target ban. There are a lot of like high tier Ari players on Europe, and so therefore like a target ban towards Ari might be the case if you just don't feel comfortable playing into it. Wukong, Kai'Sa, very strong rotation here from Unicorns of Love. We've just seen what Wukong can do from Tribe in that last game, and now the Kai'Sa coming through as well, super strong, probably the best. I think she had like a 70% win rate before we came in today.
Yeah.
In the Origin series, the highest win rate I believe of any champion that has been played at, or at least at a relatively good level, like 5 or 6 games or above. And so I think she has got one of the highest win rates over like 20 something games played. So she's got a lot of win rates to back up how powerful she is. But the Olaf Lulu coming through does suggest that this will be a Camille in the Baron lane. We are going to get a Lulu Olaf combination. Obviously, there is always the option for a Jinx, but into a Kai'Sa Wukong, I find that Jinx can be a little bit iffy. So you have to maybe think about maybe having something like the Xayah, which combos pretty well with the Lulu, and you have the self-peel of the Featherstorm to protect yourself from that CC application. But look at this from Unicorns of Love. The Orianna getting drafted in, the Braum coming through, straight up powerful teamfight stuff. Very classic ball delivery system from the Wukong to set team fights up, get the good shockwaves off.
Yeah.
Unicorns of Love playing a very strict and safe rule book here in way of drafting.
We saw something pretty similar from Tribe last game, where it was actually the Wukong paired up with also the Wild Growth from a Lulu. This time around is going to be then, as you said, that ball delivery service. Wukong is purely going to serve as UPS in his game for the Orianna to set it up. Twisted Fate, of course, great strong map pressure. Of course, you want to try and have those ultimates come out as not as a reactive manner, but more as a creative manner to try and create opportunities for your team. Hopefully, that's the way things are going to go. And they're going to go for the Xayah. They have no support. Actually, sorry, they do have a support one percent. They still got themselves the Lulu. So Lulu, Xayah into this one. They can play off of each other pretty decently from time to time. It's not going to be as strong as, for example, the Jinx Lulu, but that's fine. And now they're going for the very strong Baron laner, and that's going to be the Fiora. Maybe they were watching the stream, checking out Leon, like, okay, that's a good champion. If played correctly, he might be good. So we'll give it a fair shot and see how it fights up against the likes of Trovo Nova.
Well, it's a tough matchup for Camille. It is. I think Camille can do fine as the levels progress. But early on in the laning phase, again, Camille can't really trade versus the range of that Fiora lunge, which is difficult for any Baron laner to trade into specifically. The Fiora is the kind of like the ugly duckling of the Unicorns of Love composition. It doesn't exactly fit into the rest of their comp they've drafted, but it gives them another string to their bow. They have another option for a win condition, which is that split push side lane pressure that we saw that Leon exerted, and you can see most Fioras will be able to do the same thing. You look at the comp for Trovo Nova, it's just classic Olaf Lulu. Like, you're just setting up the Olaf Lulu with the Hextech Ultimatum from Clamares. Clamares is a very good Camille player, by the way, which is why we're going to see it translated over into the Baron lane. And you do have a pretty strong scaling AD carry and a strong scaling mid lane that can influence the map.
Yeah, it's just a strong combo in general, which is very interesting, actually, you mention it, because in Group A, before the games of Day 2 of the Origin Series, Olaf in Group A had 60% win rate out of 15 games, which I find very surprising for a champion that maybe wasn't as popular just a few weeks ago, but it seemed like in a competitive aspect of the game, especially in Europe compared to the Icon Series Summer Cup, is a lot more popular. But Group B hasn't been played with that much, the Olaf, so maybe something that these teams, and especially Unicorns of Love, will not be fully prepared for coming into this one, so we'll see if they can try to deal with that pick pretty decently for themselves. But this is another series here, our third series and last series of the day between Trovo Nova and Unicorns of Love, which we must not forget, and we must mention this is another ticket to the grand finals. Whichever team between Trovo Nova and Unicorns of Love takes this one, they're straight in that position and avoid completely the loser bracket. So of course this means a lot for these two teams, and even though Trovo Nova seem like the favorite into this one, as you mentioned, Xscandrel, if Unicorns of Love can get there, they secure the spot in the grand finals and secure a second position minimum, where Trovo Nova could try and come back in the loser bracket, as nice damage actually going to be coming on through on Snail and Ed, but Pose will not be able to confirm it just yet.
Yeah, that was a solid early trade there from Pose, just able to kind of negate a lot of the pressure that the Orianna can put down in the early laning phase. And you kind of see in Clamares how he's going to have to play this top lane. The waves crashing very early on. It is a super tough matchup for a Camille into a Fiora. Fiora can just constantly lunge at you from range. You really can't trade. You have to look for the all-in, and even then, she can just riposte when you go for the hook shot, so you just get stunned as you're trying to stun her. It is almost impossible. Plus, at level 5, when you have your ultimate, guess what she can do? She can riposte your Hextech Ultimatum, which completely negates it and makes it impossible for you to play. It is a tough, almost impossible matchup for the Camille, but you just have to survive. You have to survive, get towards late game, try and win through scaling or try and win through influencing the team. And especially as we had that first dragon being the Infernal Max, that team fight where Clamares can potentially rotate down and have an impact could be all the more important.
Yeah, exactly, because that you're of course going to be seeing this Camille be a lot more impactful in this team fight. That's going to be the TP coming on forth on Post. Instantly wants to go for the flash into the golden card, but has the repost, as you mentioned, which is so detrimental when you are at a man disadvantage, and gets self the command protect of the Orianna. Snail and Ed rotating just in time. There was an attempt for the first blood, but doesn't come to fruition just yet.
It was a good attempt. It's done two things here. It's burned some summoners from Cold Star, but also it has relieved pressure on Clamares, which is now going to allow Clamares to pick up a couple of items, get himself feeling more comfortable in this laning phase. Cold Star, now without flash, might feel a little less impactful like that first dragon fight if he chooses to come and join it at the 4-minute mark. But it was an okay play from Post. Obviously, your ideal scenario as a Twisted Fate is to use that ultimate and pick up a kill. But using it that early on is not the worst thing in the world. And just relieving some pressure in a lane matchup that is very difficult for Clamares is probably going to make him feel a little happier heading back up towards that lane.
Yeah, I do see sometimes those some matchups where Camille would come out on top, and typically you got two things you want to do. You want to be able to burn that riposte in an efficient way. So there's one way to do so. You just try and get a big damage output and try and win it with a minion wave. Not the easiest thing to do, but if you can burn it, then you can play around the Hextech Ultimatum. And this is so important. If you win a one-on-one between Camille and also the Fiora, if you get the Hextech Ultimatum and you get hit by the Grand Challenge of the Fiora, you can actually move onto the side of your Hextech Ultimatum, so the Fiora can actually proc all the stacks of the Grand Challenge to get access to that heal. It is something that's very small and it's pretty hard to play around, but if you do it correctly, that is that one small, slim opportunity that you can come ahead in that fight between these two teams. But as we're going to have a quick replay of that fight, the TP, and once again, that riposte was everything to not only avoid the stun of the golden card of Pose, but also make sure that Clamares gets stunned away and can't close that gap any closure, buying a little bit more time for the mid lane to back it up, get the command protect, and move away safely from that spot.
Yeah, no, perfectly good play from Coldstar, and buys him that much needed time. Now it looks like Vex are going to start up this Infernal Dragon. They're actually going to go straight for it instantaneously, and Coldstar has not rotated down. So Coldstar choosing to go for a cross map play. This is what we traditionally see from Fioras that don't feel confident in that first Dragon fight, but it is an Infernal at the end of the day, and they are going to get it for free with Unicorns of Love not confident in that team fight this early on. They should be able to trade for the tier 1 on the top side of the map, though. Although I say that might be, I mean, we might see the ultimate come up from Pose. We are going to see the ultimate come up from Pose. This is a huge win for Trovo Nova.
Yeah, they get himself to place. Clamaris, though, that's not going to be a W. That's going to be a big fat L, actually, to be honest, as Clamaris does lose his life in the process, trying to move away. Vex, you've got to be careful. Still has his ultimate currently ready to go, and he will have to go for the Ragnarok Blade Caller. Nice CC on both the likes of Blastara and also Kalisto. So Zach here's got to be careful, trying to get himself a little bit more poke on the likes of Hydra to deny him away from that tower. They're going to keep on roaming as the three-man crew. As mid is also crashing forward. Unicorns of Love really focused on these tower advantages.
Yeah, they're just trying to find any edge that they can to take down these towers. You can see they are threatening Hydro here, who has to use the Featherstorm instantaneously and the flash into the Blade Caller.
Yeah, nice CC, though unfortunately not going to get himself the root just yet. Egg Tech Ultimatum, and that's the one thing. Single out the target is out of position. This time, it was Bistara completely further away from both Zaku and also Kalisto. Nothing can do. That's a great kill pickup for them.
Yeah, and I think just an overstep from Unicorns of Love. They were super keen to try and punish and go for the dive on the Xayah, but she still had that Featherstorm available. It's the reason that we've seen the Xayah picked in this instance. However, that Clamaris kill has allowed, or that Clamaris roam has allowed Coldstar the opportunity to go for the first tower of the game, and that will give a nice gold injection over to Unicorns of Love, who now have a kind of like a 1,300, 1,400 edge over Trovo Nova.
A nice little bit of a gold advantage coming their way. Could be pretty impactful if you turn it into items before this first Elder fight. Well, first and last, because only one Elder, as we know, there's only one Shelly. I think 2 Shellys would be too powerful currently on the Wild Rift. But Unicorns of Love get himself the team. The resets have been coming on through. Clamaris did go for a little bit of a later reset, so he might be joining the party a little bit late. But of course, what does that mean? Trovo Nova will not have priority in the river, and you see that Unicorns of Love will occupy a big portion of the river so far. Gonna put the vision down. They do have the scuttle also coming their way. They can very easily clear everything thanks to the sweeper of Kalisto. And now just a little bit of blank of a question mark from Trovo Nova on this position as to what is happening. Unfortunately for them, they do not know. So that's an Herald for free going the way of Unicorns of Love.
I mean, Trovo Nova clearly were not playing towards the Herald anyway, but looking like Pose tried to commit to this bottom side of the map. Has to be super careful because he's going to drop the Rift Herald mid. It looks like they are letting Clamaris go for the tower take by himself, while they try to go for a mid lane tier 1 push, and it's going to actually force Pose to come through with the ultimate. But I think this is going to be a free tower take because of that early advantage that Unicorns of Love had by controlling the wave mid lane and getting a bit of damage down. They were able to convert it into a mid lane tier 1 for free. That's going to accelerate that gold lead even further, and yet to see a tower taken by Trovo Nova because their minion wave control, their rotations have been a little behind the tempo that Unicorns of Love have been setting.
Yeah, that's a very big dub for Unicorns of Love. They use himself Shelly, really won the mid lane, get himself the tower. That's going to also facilitate rotations when it comes down to potentially getting priority in the river, also getting some deeper jungle vision. If you've got a few wards, you want to try and proc into the enemy jungle of Trovo Nova, and also make your fights a lot easier later on down the line for the first the second dragon, should I say. The first was Elder, Infernal, so for the side of Trovo Nova, and there's going to be Cloud. So definitely a little bit easier for them. I like this setup for Unicorns of Love, and they even didn't lose the bottom lane tower, as there was a clear attempt on Clamaris to make that happen, but not quite going to be coming to fruition in the grand scheme of things. As now, there you go, 25 seconds before the Drake spawns. Best of still the 2 Baron lanes is up top, but you got a very clear intention that they do not want the Fiora to join up, as they're going to continuously try and split push, as Clamaris, he's just chilling into the top side and trying to maybe look for one-on-one.
He's going to go for the engage.
Yeah, nice knock up at the end for the Wild Growth. They're going straight for the back line, and Zaki, I mean, you just can't move away. If you go for the Killer Instinct, you're not going to be able to really create that huge gap you're hoping to go for. Beck's going to try and move out of that position. Doesn't have the GH just yet, so he will be able to get taken down later on. Whereas Lee going to get for the poke continuously. A little bit of a back and forth trade there, but they might be trying to get the tower off the back of that.
They're just attempting to push down the tower. It's 1-for-1 overall. You have taken down the AD carry, but the Orianna's still there for wave clear purposes. One Twisted Fate card might be enough, but he actually lands it on the Orianna, so they aren't yet able to take that tier 1. Let's take a look back at the replay. Dives in. Obviously, we see a big engage coming through. Has to go under the tower at this point. Yeah, Olaf is, I think, kind of aware that he's on the on his deathbed in the middle of this fight, and the rest of his team kind of back off and sort of pull back. It is, I think, a team fight win for Trovo Nova overall. See if they can get that tier 1 tower. Looks like the minions should be able to do the dirty work for Pose and should pick up a tier 1, the first of the game here for Trovo Nova.
Yeah, finally get himself an extra little tower here. The Baron's about to spawn, and also the second dragon. I keep saying second dragon. I mean, the first dragon came on through very early and get himself some nice damage. Will not have the repost. That's it. If you force the repost, that's big. But the rest of the team is there to back you up. ZachQ's joined the party. Kalisto also, he's got the GA now ready to go on the Monkey Boy. So he's going to be doing some pretty severe impact with those knockups on the Cyclone. And in a way, Unicorns of Love not being too greedy, not being too overzealous. I like that respect they give in Trovo Nova in that fight.
I think you have to give respect to Trovo Nova in a fight. I think you have to. I think at the end of the day, they have a very strong combination of Lulu Olaf. If you give any kind of edge to that, they will just run you down in a team fight situation. So just trying to play a bit range. I mean, obviously, at some point, Unicorns of Love have to decide how they want to play this comp. Like, are you going to rely on the side lane split push pressure? And if you're relying on the side lane split push pressure, you're obviously not going to be going for a straight team fight because you'll be playing 4v5 a lot of the time. So are you going to rely on the Fiora to be your win condition here, or are you going to try and go for the are you trying to go for the straight up like 5v5 Wukong Orianna combo that we see from Unicorns of Love, and then I guess the way they were intending on playing this fight out?
Ooh, that scared me a little bit. The Dragon HP went actually down to 10. I don't know if you spotted that for a second. The smite a little bit early. There could have been a lucky steal from maybe, I'm thinking back on Hydra or even Grizzly Q, but didn't happen at the end. So they should be completely A-okay. Now, just about to hit the 11-minute mark, 2-2, so definitely a little bit slower paced game compared to what we saw our last first games of last series between Tribe and also the likes of Team Kesso. But it's fine. This is okay. But that means that, of course, the very first fight going to be happening between these two teams is where very clear margin is going to be created above the other team. So you're looking to see those fights, which is why you got that respect between these two teams that I just mentioned. The Team Kesso, the Unicorns of Love is given to Trovo Nova, but it's very clear the other way also, as Trovo Nova do not want to do a major mistake. But though bottom side, that's going to be the engage coming on through. Himself some CC. Monkey Kalisto is going to get himself so much knockups on that fight with that Cyclone. They can't get himself the kills just yet. Blake Waller not going to be connecting just on time. Going to try and reposition, especially your Fiora. Holdstar going to try and get back to the safety of his team, but can you do so in time? Sadly, no. That's a great shockwave from the Orianna. The follow-up once again is not there. It's so unfortunate. Trovo Nova just continuously are looking in a really strong position, and now they close the gap. Kalisto gives the double kill over to the likes of Vex, and now that's the one fight that's starting to set them apart a little bit more in the future engages to come.
I think it's still a bit of a dicey team fight there. Obviously, if Pose had been in a closer scenario or closer area for that ultimate, it might have been a lot different. He was a little late to join the fight here. But you are seeing kind of why the Fiora not particularly strong in a team fight situation. Let's take a look back at this here. Good engage by Clamares. You're putting pressure onto Zach. You force him straight out of the team fight, but then you follow him up with both the Camille and the Olaf, taking out the Kai'Sa. If that Kai'Sa goes down, you are massively neutering a lot of the damage output, the consistent damage output in these fights. Again, Fiora oversteps here. She's really not that strong in straight up 5v5 situations, and eventually once Pose joins the fight, he's able to turn the tides and put way too much pressure with those individual stun cards. But I think realistically it was just a good immediate burst onto ZachQ. He did nothing in that fight, and Clamares timed that hook shot perfectly, got a 3-man stun out of the back of the stasis that ZachQ threw down at the end of that fight. So they just somehow came away. But you can see Clamares still not confident in the 1v1 versus Coldstar. That might be the area that you need to look for Unicorns of Love to try and activate a win condition, because it's the area that you're getting the most success with right now.
I mean, we touched upon this a few times already. Reason why Fiora does potentially so well in the matchup versus the Camille, so I understand where they might feel a little bit threatened. But though Vex a little bit too far, going to go for the Ragnarok instantly. But unfortunately, you lose the passive of the ability, you lose the armor and the magic resist, and that forces you to get burst down even faster than what you initially expected. Stara taken down really quickly. Clamares doing actually a lot of work onto the backline, but definitely overstepping his welcome at the end. Pose getting himself some nice damage with those cards, but he's also going to be just tickled down so quickly and shortly, and the entirety of now Trovo Nova are going to be losing their life down to only Hydro. He doesn't have the Blade Call anymore. If he had it, this would be huge, but it's not enough time to pull it off as Unicorns of Love win himself the fight, get himself the ace, and the Baron is up on the menu.
I just don't know how that happened. Like, that is insane to come out with such a dominant team fight. Going to get a teleport straight back into the Baron pit. Obviously, low HP bars here. You're going to have to be a little careful. But I mean, unless the teleport's coming through, we're actually seeing multiple teleports towards the Baron pit right now. Vex is running his way into this pit.
Oh! No way, Vexy gets it done. They're all solo, maybe able to get a clutch opportunity. But he used his ult earlier, doesn't have the shot. He gets the double kill. Doesn't even have the Ragnarok because he doesn't need it. If the backup was there, oh, there you go. That's backup. The cavalry joins the party as Unicorns of Love, Kalisto, and also Zaku have to move away. He gets the Baron steal and a double kill. That's a great package. That's the deal of the century here, Scoundrel. What?
Oh my god! Look, end of the day, Baron is always risky. Baron is always risky, especially if you don't have the opportunity to take it super quickly. And they weren't taking it super quickly. The HP bars were low. It was prime opportunity to see some teleports come through from Trovo Nova. You do see this a lot in Wild Rift. People will sell their boots, buy teleport, and just teleport back to an objective if they want to fight for it. Big play, huge play from Vex. Absolute MVP of the moment. And Trovo Nova are still behind in gold off the back of that play, by the way. Still behind compared to Unicorns of Love. And what do we talk about? We knew this series was going to be close. Unicorns of Love could not be counted out, and they aren't. They are absolutely fighting Trovo Nova at every stage.
Yeah, worthy of respect for sure coming into this matchup. Though, one thing that I think Clamaris has been doing extremely well is getting those Hectic Ultimatums. In a proper fight, if you have a proper 5-on-5, you always get the Hectic Ultimatum on Zach Q. That is the main target that we touched upon a few times already in the draft itself and also this game. As we're going to have a quick replay, and that smite was just perfectly timed, and the health bars were just so low. If you had a Ragnarok, potentially that could have gone a little bit further, but the teleport's a little bit late. It would have came in earlier. I think that could have been him actually surviving the entire skirmish, but they move away from that fight, and yeah, that's the game that keeps Trovo Nova back in the race, but they're clearly looking for that mid lane turret opportunity to pick it up, and it's not going to happen just yet, but they're still going to give it a fair shot later on.
I think you do have to be a little worried if you're Trovo Nova, though. You've got to always consider the scaling in Wild Rift, and we are heading to that stage of the game where scaling is mattering. Yeah. Orianna, one of the most disgusting scaling champions in the game. She has got ridiculous damage that she can just pump out on like a 3-second cooldown, 4-second cooldown. So he's already picked up his Ludens, his Rabadon's Death Cap. He's got his Archangel staff. This is a Orianna that is going to hurt. Really, really, really hurt. And so I think like you have to be a little bit concerned about how you're going to deal with the Orianna. Plus the fact that we've got stasis across the board is starting to make Clamares feel a little less threatening in these team fights. Like that Hextech Ultimatum can very easily be countered by having a good stasis coming through. So we are starting to see Trovo Nova just trying to exert that Twisted Fate side lane pressure a bit more. Though there is a big, what we call Fnatic Death Brush group here. Oh my word.
Are they going to be... Oh, the health of Trovo Nova, they just got melted down so quickly, and now they've got to be careful because the re-engage is going to be coming out from Unicorns of Love. Straight engage. Grizzly's going to be on the menu on this one. Will get himself a little bit of a polymorph down onto the Fiora, but oh my god, Cold-Star is doing so much work onto that backline given the opportunity. Zaku can't jump away, doesn't have himself that killer instinct, so you are pinned down in the river. Now it's time for the re-engage. Unicorns of Love might regret that decision later on, though, because Vistara takes a lot of damage. But he tanked it. He tanked it at the end for Cold-Star. He's still looking really healthy. Oh, you know what? Maybe I jinxed a little bit there because he's actually taken a lot of damage. Now he's down to one. It's Pose. They're all so low. The passive is about to proc up the Braum, and he gets himself that concussive blow passive. They're one low. One ability, and that's good. But no, he gets himself the double kill.
Way.
That could have been so clutch. They were all on top of each other, but unfortunately he does die, and that's the ace to Unicorns of Love.
Oh, so insane, dude. Like, it could have been a 1v3 moment for Pose on that Twisted Fate. He just wasn't able to lock in that red card quick enough. The red card would have been the best option there. You'd have got a couple of kills for your money. But that was essentially, if you look at the replay, backline being chased down by enemy frontline on both sides. Like, there was the Vex Clamares hype train running at the back line of Unicorns of Love, and it was obviously, as you saw, Cold-Star running it down towards the back line of Trovo Nova. It was just about which backline got melted quicker, and it was the Unicorns of Love team that were able to just take out Trovo Nova much more readily. Oh my goodness, are you just dead here, Hydro?
Yeah, I'll take that as an answer. Yes, he is going to be instantly taken on down. Unicorns of Love going to have to move away. I mean, Baron's up. Threaten it. You got 5v4 currently coming your way. That should be the play, and they are instantly going to put the focus on that Baron here, Scandal.
Yeah, and I think this is the right decision this time. However, you've always got to be a little concerned. You've always got to be a little concerned about a potential Baron engagement. I love the zoning coming out. Clamares straight into the pit here.
Yeah, got himself the Unbreakable. Oh, the knockup! That's a 5-man knockup! You must be kidding me! What a wild growth onto the likes of Vex. Though the damage is not going to be sufficient to actually turn those into kills just yet. Clamares a little overzealous, a little bit too adventurous on that adventure into the jungle, and he will lose his life along the way. Though another teleport to come on through, and this is the jungler back on board once more. Kalisto joins the party, joins the fray as they're looking for another time to push it. But now, knowing that Vex is not there, this is looking like a very clear opportunity for Unicorns of Love.
I really felt like there was half commit from Trovo there and half of them peeling away. I honestly felt that you could have just gone for it. Like, Vex, how often do you see a 5-man Lulu knock up? Just get in the fight pose, run at their team. Like, who cares? Go for it. Like, they both ran away. Like, both the Lulu, like Grizzly and Pose ran away. Like, just get in there. Slap him in the head. Like, it's a 5-man Lulu knock up. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, clearly miscoordination happening on Trovo Nova's side of things. Hopefully they can try and fix that one on the go as this game goes on. So that's going to be it. Elder, I keep wanting to say Infernal. I think that every Drake is going to be Infernal, but no, it's going to be Elder Mountain Drake here, up and available. That's going to be a big beefy shield, and it's exceptionally well for the likes of this Braun Bastara, serving even more that purpose of that front line, making it harder for Vex or even potentially Clamarish to find those kills because of that shield that's going to be very bothersome for them. Trying to unleash that dragon, will be pulled out of the Drake, of the pit exactly. There you go. It's going to get reset currently, so the fight might not happen just yet. And definitely Trovo Nova. They know they can't go for it. They took too much damage. That poking of Unicorns of Love is just too good. And he talked about it, right? That command attack of Snail and Ed just keeping him at arm's length continuously. Another one, and he just chunks down the health of Grizzly and Hydro. He's going to jump it. Can he make it happen once again in this game? Tries to smite it out, but no, this time it's secured by Monkey. Kalisto gets it done. Going to move away. Backline going to be now focused on by the Furo. Still got the G8 also available for Kalisto, but now you got those kills. That's the double coming on through from Zach, and Unicorns of Love logging absolute control once again. As Kalisto wants to play spoiler on Grizzly, Q, and Pose. It's going to be taking a 1v2 with the G8. Might feel confident, but I would not recommend it. But it doesn't matter, Scoundrel, because the mid lane is getting pushed, and they're looking for the inhib tower.
They're going to get the game, mate. Not just the inhib tower. They are straight up ending the game off the back of that fight. And as you correctly said, it got too late game. Orianna had too much zoning potential, too much damage output. Nothing that you can do versus a team that has an Orianna at that stage of the game. And honestly, Unicorns of Love, we mentioned it. It's not 100% won here for Trovo Nova. They definitely have the potential to knock this heavyweight down into the lower bracket. A good team in their own right. And they absolutely come out swinging in the first game of this series.
Yeah, the Coldstar said in that little video we had at the start of the show today, and he felt very shaky at the start, man. He was making Trovo Nova shake in that one, that's for sure. There was a real slapper, like real bang of a game in general, I'm going to have to say. But there you go. That's going to be done for our first game of our series between Trovo Nova and Unicorns of Love. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back with Shred to break this one down because we're getting ready for what might be the last game of day 2 of the Origin series. So don't go anywhere.
And the Unicorns of Love go trotting on to victory as they go ahead and claim game number 1 against Trovo Nova. And there were some valiant efforts on the side of Trovo. I think Vex became a bit of a raid boss in that last game, didn't he, Max?
Yeah, it was a really good attempt. I mean, we got to talk mainly back to that 5-man knockup, especially. It was so well played coming out from the support Grizzly Q. We talked about this guy being one of the potentially best supports currently in the region. He's got a really strong hero pool, and I'm really happy to see him perform this time. But as Xandral touched upon, this is a team that you cannot count out of the competition. And I think that Trovo Nova maybe rested on their laurels a little bit before coming into this one. But next 2 games, they got to get the reverse sweep under play. Otherwise, this might just be a T0 coming the way of Unicorns of Love, and they'll send Trovo Nova right into the losers bracket, which I'm pretty sure that they want to avoid.
Okay, Keenan, I'm going to give you a chance to kind of figure out something you wasn't able to work out in the game, right? There was a fight in the blue side jungle. It ended up with Trovo Nova getting aced, and we're not quite sure how that happened, but we're going to get that clip pulled up. I believe we got it in clip number 1 for you to be able to take a look at it again and see if we can spot where it all went wrong for Trovo Nova.
This is a little bit after where it seems to have gone wrong for Trovo Nova, but I think one of the things that you have to do when you're dealing with an Olaf composition is you do this to Olaf before he actually wants to fight. So, I mean, I'm putting a big arrow. You can kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
If you can force Olaf into low HP and he's having to, go defensive from the very outset. I mean, Grizzly Q's all the way over here, so he's nowhere near the Olaf to form the combo. They just seem to have caught Olaf out, but this should be the end of the fight. Mm-hmm. Like, you should be able to just say, cool, I'm trying to press play here, everyone. Just so you know. Give me a second. All right, okay, so there, Vex gets caught out. Vex gets caught out. I mean, at this point, Hydro and Grizzly, you run away. Pose, you run away. It's a really nice re-engage going Kalisto, but Grizzly's trying to play off Clamara's at this point. Clamara's instantly dies, and again, like, without the Olaf, you're really limiting some of your mid-game power here. Was close, realistically. There was maybe a way that you could have made this work for you, but honestly, Unicorns of Love are very good at managing their effective HP pools at the front line. And Kalisto on that Wukong, very impressive stuff from him. So yeah, that was a play where it just shows you when you're playing up against an Olaf comp, if you can catch the Olaf out before the fight starts, or you do enough damage to him so that he becomes irrelevant when he pops Ragnarok anyway, then clearly you're going to have an edge versus the Olaf comps. And that's exactly what Unicorns of Love did there.
But even when Vex found the right time and Vex appeared to have the support, I mean, I don't think we have the clip for it, but that Baron Nashor fight, or the fight around the Baron pit, where Vex goes in, lands the 5-man wild growth.
Oh, just why did Pose and Grizzly run away?
Like, we don't, I don't think, do we have missing pings in Wild Rift. Why aren't we spamming them at this point? Missing pings would be going massively off there. That happens, Max.
Yeah.
He just got abandoned by his team. I fully agree with Xcounter on that one. It's so weird. It was such a good engage. You literally got him in Ragnarok form. He's literally chunking down the entirety of the backline. He's going Super Saiyan mode that entire time, even Ultra Instinct, you could say. And then the team just leaves him. And I think Clamaris understood midway, oh, that was a good opportunity. Let's give it another fair shot. And then the team just clearly not there because they very clearly have different mindsets and different ideas of what should happen that fight. It didn't work out. It was a golden opportunity that they just chucked in the bin when it could have been an amazing fight and maybe the comeback opportunity for Trovo Nova, but just a little bit short at the end. Yeah, nice try, but felt very short.
Yeah, I think I've got another clip, by the way. We can kind of have a look at another team fight if you guys want to just break this down a little further. As you can see, this is an example of a team fight that actually could have been really good for Trovo Nova, despite being about 2k gold behind. You can see the gold scores right now is about 2k in favor of Unicorns of Love. Unfortunately, Pose is all the way up here. So Pose is like really far away. I think the Twisted Fate ult range is something like that, right? So you probably have something like that to work with. So he's going to have to cover the effective distance towards this fight before he's actually able to use the Twisted Fate ult range. So he's a little bit out of joining this fight right now. So let's take a look at this. This is really good from Clamaris, by the way. You're forcing ZachQ into an awkward spot. You're trying to take him down. ZachQ immediately ults away. You can then just see that Vex and Clamaris chase him down. By the way, Pose is still not here. So he's used the ultimate, but he's still not here. Orianna is on her way down as well. This would have been really, really effective if Pose got here in time, because you'd have basically forced a 4 versus 5. And that would have been essentially almost a game-winning team fight for you, because you probably could have converted that into a Baron if you were quick enough. But either way, chase ZachQ down. Watch Clamaris' hookshot, by the way. So good. Gets a double stun out of it, and obviously ZachQ goes down. But by the time that Orianna rejoins the fight, like really lovely shockwave, you can already start to see the damage that Orianna's putting out at this stage in the game. Although Trovo Nova do eventually take a relatively solid team fight end, they get the double kill here and actually get a 3-for-1 overall, which is a good result. It's not really able to convert to anything, so they're not able to use that and convert it into the Baron, or they really can't even get over to the mid lane tier 1 and take it either, which would have been a really nice prize for them to take.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Lowe, for the double dose of information and match highlights. That's all she wrote for game number 1, but there's still potentially game 2 and game 3 on the way. But I'm getting word that we're almost ready to jump into game 2, so I'm going to hand it off to you guys now, and we'll start it off now.
Now! Thank you very much, Trade. Now, okay, we're going in now. Okay, we're getting ready for the games onto this one. Checking out once again the roster for both Unicorns of Love and Trovo Nova. But man, this is potentially another great series between these two teams. Unicorns of Love might go the entire way and upset the favorite in Group B. And if it becomes reality, that could be one of the big upsets. As he's back. Trid is back. He's trying to hide. But no, we can see you, Trid. Hello. Hello again. He's gone.
No, you're not. Bye. See ya.
Bye. We don't want to see you, Trey. We're just trolling you right there. But no, we'll see you later on the desk after this game. But yeah, great matchup here. And I'm intrigued to see what's going to be the attempt of these two teams, and especially of of Trovo Nova, to try and fix the issues that we saw that last game, which I think were mainly down to communication issues. So let's see what they're going to try and work on in the draft phase for this next game. And Trade is back with us. You really want to be a part of the broadcast, don't you? Leave! We said this already twice, Trid, okay? We don't want you back. We'll have you after the game, okay? Not now. This is not your time to shine.
Trid just really wants to get in on the pick and ban phase this time around. He just really wants to be... let me... He's like, let me in! Oh, gosh. There we go. All right, Seraphine ban. I think Unicorns of Love are going to ban the Ahri again. I think Pose is in a bit of a notorious Ahri one-trick. So the Ahri one-trick ban is trying to put him on an awkward scenario. I don't think he looked awful on the Twisted Fate. I just think there was some clutch moments where you clearly would see that a bit of higher mastery may have led to them really clutching out some important team fights. I'm thinking about the time where he was like 3 versus 1 but had full HP versus some like 5% HP targets. But there was in the potential there. Zig's ban on red side is very good. I expect the next ban to be Ahri, and that will then limit Pose again.
Yeah, I do believe, I'm not sure, I think Trevor Nova should be red side this time around, so maybe that's why the bans are coming down this way.
I think loser gets to choose.
Did they choose blue side again here? I think
loser technically gets to choose which side they want to be on. Either way, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's been back and forth quite some time, so I'm just a little bit used to that. Like, you know, you're A, then you're B, then you're A, then you're B. But Ahri, as you rightly mentioned, right, is going to be taken down later on down the line as the final ban for this second game. And Kai'Sa back at it once again, and this is going to be for Trevor Nova this time around. Not the Xayah in their hands, but the Xayah. Sorry, the Kai, should I say. I like this one. It's a good first pick. It can play in a lot of compositions. It can play as a more peeling play style if you want to try and just keep on getting that damage. And once they're low, you go for the Killer Instinct and get access to those low HP targets. Or otherwise, you just go with a good initiation type of team to get straight up access to those squishy backline targets of the side of Unicorns of Love. And then you go with the Killer Instinct. So I'm okay with it. I think it's a strong pick. And especially, we talked about it. I think it was, 70-something win rate in Group A at some point at the start of the day. So it's still a very strong champion. There's no issue to go for that very early on the blue side pick.
Yeah, but we're going to see a classic for Unicorns of Love again, the Orianna Wukong combo coming through. Garen left open and available, though, for Clammaris. A difficult matchup for pretty much anybody right now, though Fiora would be the optimal pick. So if Unicorns of Love wanted to run the Fiora into the Garen again, it is a tough matchup for Garen in the laning phase, and that is something that I would lean towards. Jarvan does come through. A bit more team fight presence here for Trovo Nova this time round. They are maybe looking to build some kind of wombo combo style team fight, essentially just loads and loads of CC to provide a solid front to back, which I imagine Pose goes for the Twisted Fate again. I think I've seen him default onto the Twisted Fate almost any time, but it is going to be the Lulu. So similar comp being built out by Unicorns of Love here, and so they're feeling confident with what they drafted previously. So why change it?
Yeah, I would clearly say though for Trevor Nova, for Vex especially, this is very clearly a response to the Wukong. He wanted to go for the Wukong. It's something Vex is very renowned for. Also, the Olaf, we saw it in that last game. Not going to have the opportunity to do so, so he's going to go for the typical Androzet pick, which is going to be on this Jarvan. The combo is going to be very strong. It could set up this Darius really well. We haven't seen too many strong Darius throughout the Icon series so far. So the Origin series so far. So I would like to see maybe this Darius get himself in a good position, and then they're going to join it up with Twisted Fate once again. Trevor Nova going to go towards it once more. We'll see if that's going to work out. You mentioned why it didn't work out as strongly, so we're hoping to see some very clear improvements after game 1 in the second game.
Well, I think you've got a relatively good front to back here from Trovo Nova. Like, you have really strong teamfight control. The Jarvan Galio combo is a little like the Camille Galio combo, where you're just able to just throw someone into the death bowl and then throw the Galio on top of that. So strong front to back, lots of peel, lots of spacing, created for the Kai'Sa and the Twisted Fate. So it makes a little more sense in that sense. I don't like the Darius into Garen. Garen should win that matchup really easily. Although if the Garen makes any kind of mistake, it can be difficult, especially post 5. Darius might find the edge. And then the Vayne. Now, Vayne is a pick that you do see into Garen relatively often, because Garen does have to chase you down. There's a lot of static model bugs. Oh wait, they're there. It's fine. We're back in. I was like, why is everyone floating? They're not even walking. I think a lot of people do like to pick Vayne into Garen specifically because he just runs at you, and Vayne is very good at kiting people who just run at her. You can also just condemn the Jarvan. You can condemn the Galio out of their engages, but it is a lot of like user reliance for Zach Q here. So you have to be very, very careful as Zach Q in this matchup, and you have to kind of like really time that condemn to ensure you're getting the best value out of it.
Also, Zach can very clearly take care of himself. I would say this situation compared to the last game, he's the Kai'Sa. He needs a little bit more backing of his team, and especially that's why he was seeing a little bit more assistance around that kind of pick. But you know what, should be working out just fine this time around. And I like also the final hour you can take care of yourself very easily onto this fan. You got a lot of health pools to really try and peak from with that passive. On that third ability, you got yourself the Garen, that's pretty tanky, and also got the Jarvan the 4th, which should be going for a more tanky route, and also Grizzly Q that I expect to not go for the AP route. He should be going for the tank route. So I like it. I think the Vayne, I'm not always a fan of the pickup itself, but if not only he gets in a strong position, but also gets very late into the game, that's where Vayne really shines, and we could expect very big things from that kind of pickup. So already rotations coming out in the mid lane from Vex, looking for an opportunity. He's only level 3, doesn't have that Cataclysm to potentially burn a flash, so he'll take the slow approach and go back to the Scuttle to get some early vision coming his way.
So you're going to see standard jungle pathing early on here. Vex obviously just going straight for the Scuttle over the blue buff. He'll eventually then transition back into the blue buff, probably clear out his blue side jungle. Might see an invade come through from Kalisto if he wants to go for it. He can maybe look for a push onto the Krugs, but that will not be the case. He'll mirror exactly what Vex is doing, although Vex has taken an extra camp. Oh no, actually, wait, we see Kalisto actually started over on his Krugs and cleared those out. So essentially seeing a similar clear speed and clear path for both junglers between Trovo Nova and Unicorns of Love. Just does mean that we're probably not going to get any crazy early action on the Rift as it stands, although Kalisto may be looking for that invade onto the Krugs and is going to steal away a little camp from Vex, which is going to give him a slight edge in experience.
There's a little bit of oppression into the bottom side. They did try and go for a flash. Zac actually flash from Zacu did come on through. TP forward from post and give himself the golden card onto Zacu, and he's going to be taken down instantly. Hydra's the one to get themselves that kill, and they're going to get the taunt on top of it. Bistar, no way, actually survives, and the turret, whoa, double kill over to Bistar. Okay, you're going AP. You're going AP Lulu, kill. I don't care.
That's literally a triple kill. The Lulu just basically triple killed under tower, right?
Go AP. Dude.
Wait, who picked up the kills? I'd love to see the scoreboard because I want to see who picked up the kills. I think obviously Lulu got 2. I don't know whether... let's take a look back at this again. Pose comes in, nice barrier and shield onto Zacu to buy him a bit of space. Nice condemn to again stop the Kai'Sa doing a huge amount of damage. Yeah, it must be Lulu that's picked up all these kills. I mean, that is absolutely ludicrous. How do you botch a tower dive that bad?
Oh, I think one of the kills actually maybe wasn't picked up. Actually, yeah, okay. One of the kills went over to the Vayne to Zacu, so he's going to get that one for himself. Yeah, that's actually good to get the kill position on him. But yeah, interesting one. They gave it a shot. It was a little bit too close for comfort, and it didn't go the end. It did go in the tower. They re-engaged once more. Dragon flag and drag from Vex going for the opportunity. The knockup of the Cyclone is going to be strong for Kalisto on the Monkey Man again. They're trying to move out, though. The second Cyclone wave is going to be striking down Vex, looking for the re-engage as the team is coming on through, but that's the 2 mid laners that are going to be roamed. And the Kars actually get himself the kill onto the Wukong right after. What a good strike from Pose. And he's getting himself the golden card once again. The flash is going to be up and ready to roll. The Void Seeker will not connect just yet and seek nothing else but air, as the Dragon is now up and seem like they're going to take that instantly as it spawns.
Yeah, you've already seen Clamara's rotate his way down here. It doesn't look like Unicorns of Love are in a strong enough position to contest this, although Vex has just picked up the Honey Fruit, so he's now a relatively respectable HP. Don't really think that Unicorns of Love can actually fight for this, and you can see Clamara is actually going to go in, maybe look for the kill here.
Yeah, get himself the wild growth from the Lulu, so that's not going to be able to connect it with the Demacian Justice. Nice shockwave, buys a little bit more time, but it doesn't matter. The main objective there was to get the Drake. They get it done, but there's going to be some cross-mapping happening from Kalisto and Coldstar to get themselves a tower to try and reduce that loss, but still Infernal, so it will hurt later on down the lane.
Yeah, no, I think the Infernal... I think leaving the Infernal was the right idea. It doesn't look like the majority of Unicorns of Love got the memo, though. I guess they were trying to distract them as long as possible. Nice pickup onto the Lulu, just oversteps versus the Galio, doesn't really respect the engage. I think at this point, if you're Unicorns of Love, you leave it here. You're too close to the tower. There's no real need. You're a Vayne in the early game. You can see both Twisted Fate and Orianna roaming down at the same time, and you're way too close to the safety area for Trovo Nova, which is that tower. I think you just leave it. Leave it at the kill at the 1-for-1, back out and drag them back down towards. We have more action on this bottom side of the map. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Costa wants to actually get engaged, does go for the Noxing Guillotine. Unfortunately, does not get the kill, and also because of that, does not get the preset. Also, TP. Pose trying to assist his team of Trovo Nova a little bit more, but that tower stands no chance, it seems. The wave is pretty small. Clamara going to try and clear it away. Spin to win, apparently, but he's going to get apprehended out of that one. Doesn't have the ultimate, though, so Coldstar doesn't have that chance to just dunk him down and get that kill. So still good pressure. An extra plate worth of gold, but they can't go the extra mile. They're going to go for the extra mile, though, with that extra wave.
I mean, I think Darius, the stone plate enchant, which you're seeing coming out from, I think, both Grizzly Q and Clamara's, it kind of makes Darius a little harder to play because it also reduces the stacks damage that you're dealing as well. So it's just more difficult to find, and also you get the HP increase, and flat HP is the best thing you can get for Darius. Did you just smite that away? Oh my god, he just walked in and smite that away. Flat HP is the best defense that you can get against Darius' ultimate, so the flat HP bonus that you get from the stone plate enchant is going to make it more difficult for you to get the execute damage with Darius. So yeah, that Stoneplate enchant proving an issue for Darius looking to get those reset dunks.
Yeah, could cause him a few more issues in the fights to come. Oh, Elder... Sorry, I keep getting these wrong onto the jungle position. No, it's going to be Sully, going to be secured away, and Trevor Nova going to have to move away on this one. Shelly will be coming up. They could try and use it later on for the next Drake. It's going to be Mountain, so you don't really have to try and play around that one too much. You can create opportunities as early as you want, and they're going to do it right now, actually, in the mid lane, because the tower's already so low. They didn't even need Shelly right now. They popped it a little bit early. They could give themselves an extra ram forward, but I think with the CC they have, it might not have the opportunity to get a ram forward. I think it will. Down 50%. And gets himself not quite the plate, but still, that's going to be big. That's some good damage that later on down the line could help a lot. The taunt coming out, actually, from Grizzly Q. So Cold Star knows he's just way too deep in this one. Does get the Wild Growth to try and potentially assist him in that fight, and gets the dunk. He gets the reset, moves away. But Trevor Nova definitely regretting that decision. They gave it a shot, and it didn't work out at all. Though, Kalisto looking for a chance once more. The TP comes out from post. Be sure the team can move away. Seems like that will assist and scare Unicorns of Love away.
Again, the Stoneplate enchant ruining Darius' day by giving him the little burst of HP towards the end. Wasn't able to get the dunk reset. However, they are going to use this opportunity to try and push in on this mid lane tier 1, trade back another tower in favor, but Poe's able to clear the wave out with that red card. And still, Unicorns of Love struggling to get any headway in these fights. I really do think that, take a look in here. So he builds up stacks, really nice HP gain. He gets a load of shielding from both the Orianna and there, the Stoneplate enchant right at the end stops Vex from dropping down and stops that reset coming through from Darius. And once honestly, at the end of this, without the Vayne, you really can't get through that front line. You really can't get through that front line without the Vayne. A lot of this comp is relying on the Vayne to kind of shred through that big, beefy front line of Vex, Clamares, and Grizzly Q. And with Vayne not being there at the start of the fight, didn't really work out. I think a lot of this game is now relying on Zach Q to kind of step up to that carry plate and be the person that's going to kind of drive his team over the line here.
Yeah, Trevor Nova very clearly here looking for an opportunity to push this one to a game 3. Otherwise, they might be losing their ticket to the grand finals. They want to join up, obviously, with the likes of Sunlight and also Tribe. They're going to give it their best shot on this one. See how far they can go. Clearing out vision, of course, as Drake is going to be up. That's going to be the next point of contention between these two teams. Coalstar remaining into the top lane. Going to try and move his way forward. I'm not sure if he has a TP already purchased, but I think not, as he's just going to be walking down the jungle path and make it through the mid lane very soon. And this could give a very clear advantage to Trevor Nova if they play around it properly, because they've got a 5v4. But no, they're going to go move away from that turret, go for the dragon. Secure it probably, but Grizzly is still looking for a few pokes, and seem like they're not fully ready to take that fight versus Unicorns of Love just yet.
I'm actually really liking that Trevor Nova are kind of prioritizing gold advantage. They're going for that mid lane tier 2 right now as well, because I think that they have to worry about scaling at the end of the day. You have to worry about the scaling element of the Unicorns of Love composition. You have the Vayne and the Orianna. You gave way too much time to this team, and they will do the same thing to you again.
Oh, Kalisto took so much damage, and the fight just barely begun. Has to move away. GA will be procced, and now that's going to be the dunk reset on to the Darius. Now they're going to go for the re-engage. This is looking good. The double kill coming on this way. He gives himself so many dunks forward, but it's clearly going to be making matters so much easier, as Trevor Nova losing almost every single player. The Lulu will be there to back it up and get himself the 4th kill of that game. Only Grizzly Q will remain. That's the fight the Unicorns need to get back into the game and secure themselves potentially a 2-0 lead.
Finally, Coalstar gets given the opportunity to start that dunk train going, and that's really how you need to kind of like facilitate yourself with the Vayne. Look, no one's on the Vayne right now. No one is on the Vayne. That is not a particularly well-timed catechism coming out from the Jarvan, because no one can really capitalize. And obviously, we just saw Hydro ult the backline to try and capitalize, but he completely isolated himself. And in the meantime, Coalstar was able to just constantly build up stacks, constantly look for a big ultimate and dunk train, which we saw going on there. And finally, Zach Q got a fight where he was not being threatened. And now you've given a lot of gold over to Unicorns of Love. You've allowed them to kind of build themselves back into this game. The only downside of that last fight was that, again, Unicorns of Love can't really convert it into anything. However, it was off the back of a Mountain Dragon take, and you'll take any kind of defenses that you can get versus this type of team. More shielding, more sort of base shielding for all of your team versus, especially with the Vayne on your squad, is going to be more than happy to have in your back pocket, and they'll be happy with the result of that.
Yeah, it's still pretty much a rough going of things for Unicorns of Love. The gold lead is not helping them out too much, despite that first dragon that happened earlier. It's pretty interesting to see how they can play around that. Though Vayne going to try and rotate, as you said, Zaku, given the right circumstance, the right situation, can play it correctly. Though Clamaris, way too far, going to have to proc himself that extra move speed, move away. Did have the flash, it's needed, but you want to hold on to that as much as possible. So you will be okay for now, at least, moving away from that spot. I'm liking it, though. I do want to say, Kalisto, that last fight, scared me a little bit. He went really low, really quickly, focusing down 2 targets. I think it's mainly Pose that did a big portion of that damage. Luckily enough, Kalisto did have that GA. But it was a really good play afterwards, followed up by Unicorns of Love. Reason why is Trovo Nova were very spread, and they just focused the entirety of their team. I think it was on Clamaris at that point in time. I might be wrong, but I think that was Clamaris. And get the man advantage off the back of that and getting the dunk resets. So I'm really enjoying how they played around that fight, especially, though, fight back again onto the top side. Coldstar TPs, not going to go any further, but at least the team is now present fully into the top lane.
Trying to find Zaku, I think, trying to pick that kill off and then maybe convert it into the Baron. That was the play. Like, I think they were just looking to say, okay, take out Zaku really quickly with Pose's ultimate, and then we try and go for a Baron play. Obviously, when the Twisted Fate ultimate is active, even if Zaku was to use his ultimate and try and gain the invisibility, he will still be seen for a short period of time while that Twisted Fate active or Twisted Fate ultimate is available. So it was a good opportunity for the team to collapse. Just wasn't quite timed correctly here for the side of Trovo Nova.
Coldstar, your team's not there. He gets taunted out by Grizzly Q, surrounded by not only Grizzly Q, Vex, and also Hydro. Killer Instinct forward. Trying his best to buy as much time as possible with that heal, but it will definitely not go the entire way. Clamaris going to be actually condemned next to the wall. Will he die in time, though? He's going to get the knockup to survive. No, Grizzly Q a little bit late on that proc. Nice taunt once more from the Galio. Unicorns of Love, they have to move away from that fight. You got to be very careful. Sure, you're getting a few more kills, but the damage is ramping up heavily for Trovo Nova. The flash is coming out. The golden card will connect potentially, but no, he doesn't get it. Trying to go for the AoE on the red card. They're just too far away from each other, and he will not get the kills. A nice turnaround from Trovo Nova, but he could have potentially went a little bit further given the chance.
I mean, Vayne's starting to scale up now. It is dangerous. It is a good pick into the Garen. There aren't many good answers into Garen, but Garen is a tank that stacks this huge amount of HP, and Vayne gives you percentage true damage scaling. So you're going to get that percentage true damage chunking of these tanks, and that is where the Vayne pick comes in handy versus a Garen in the top lane, still taken down pretty quickly. Let's take a look at it again. A lot of credit has to go to both Orianna and to the Lulu for providing a lot of shielding and a lot of support for Zaku in this fight. He gets an Orianna shield, has to flash away, has the Lulu shield, gets a huge amount of HP back from the Honey Fruit there as well, which allows them to effectively trade 2 for 2 overall. But imagine if Coldstar hadn't died at the start of that fight. You really feel like Unicorns of Love would have just run away with it.
Yeah, the further this game goes on, Zaku is going to become more and more of a threat by the minute. So you've got to be careful. You've got to keep track of what's going on. I'm going to get himself the extra red buffs to get himself some extra stats on those basic attacks to follow it up. As Hydro going to be initiating on the Dragon. This is another situation where Unicorns of Love can't really contest it, so they're not going to go for that fight whatsoever. They're just going to remain in the jungle, continuously bring some more gold to their kit. But Trovo Nova, still 40 minutes into this game, the goal lead coming their way as teleport comes out from Pose into the golden card. They want to get all that CC into the taunt and seem like that might just do what they were supposed to get. Coldstar trying to move away, and there you go. That's Trovo Nova, an extra kill now. They got the man advantage once more. Unicorns of Love trying to collapse, though. The health bars are looking pretty good for Unicorns if they want to re-engage despite, but it seemed like the move speed of Trovo Nova is a little bit too good, especially off the back of that Cloud Drake. It's making that disengage a little bit easier. Zaku, there you go, goes to the final hour, going to get potentially that condemned onto Pose, and that's exactly what he was aiming for. Retribution for the loss of Coldstar, and now they could look for another objective potentially in mid. That would be great to see.
Yeah, need to get some towers here for Unicorns of Love. They are dropping behind on the standing gold on the map. It was a nice little collapse. Use the ward to isolate Pose and condemns him against the wall. Don't think you'll be able to easily convert this into anything meaningful. What I will say about Trovo Nova is they are managing waves really well this game. They are constantly having waves shoved into the enemy. You can see that in both bot lane and in mid lane, there are waves that are crashing towards the tier 2s, or where the tier 2 would have been in the mid lane. And so clearly, I think Unicorns of Love have got to do a better job of setting their waves up for success, because as soon as you get a team fight win, you want to convert it immediately. And if you have the waves pushing into the towers, you can do that.
Yeah, doesn't really matter to get kills and everything. You need to get those objectives, right?
Yeah, a pretty simple catch here onto the Darius, but enough damage went down. We have another engage coming through on the top lane tier 1.
Yeah, great taunt to Kalisto. Still got the GA, but it doesn't matter if you knock him down and you can't go for the engage onto the Cyclone. Well, that's going to be rendered basically useless on the engage of Unicorns of Love. Trying to go for the full-on fight, Unicorns of Love. They're going pretty deep into their own jungle. They got some good damage, especially Clamara's extremely low. They don't get the damage output from the likes of ZachQ, and he's really low. He's scared to go a little bit further potentially in this fight. He's also self-regen. Grizzly going for the dive. That's damage scaling up really nicely for Unicorns of Love. Vex making it straight onto Slimy Lead and also Bastara. Maybe overstepping his welcome for sure. As Vex trying to move out, I would say don't take it. It's not worth it. Trovo Nova won it. They're going to go for the Baron right off the bat. Normally, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a risky Baron to take, I think, versus an Orianna. Yeah, I think this is a little risky, if you ask me. Like, look at the damage the Orianna can do. Like, you might just die to Baron here.
Oh, command attack too good. You move away. They should have learned that from last game, actually. That command attack is way too powerful when played properly. Zoning tool is too good. And they're going to try and push in mid. So, pretty decent catch, actually, from Unicorns of Love if they can convert finally an objective. If
Snealand can get the Rabadons, they're actually just teleporting straight into it. They're going for it again. I still think it's risky.
Yeah, teleport, there you go. They have a ward behind, actually. That's big for Kalisto. And they saw that. Yeah, they're giving it another shot. That's going to be the TP down later on down the line if Kalisto wanted to give it another fair shot. Yeah, it's just a little bit of back and forth. Seeing who playing this game of chicken, who's going to try and commit to the Baron first. So far, Trovo Nova to give it a shot. They're still trying to get themselves the mid lane tower. Have they got it yet? I think they're pretty close. And they need to get more map presence. So that's a good pick for Unicorns.
Yeah, if they can just pick up that mid lane tier 1, which they've got, now evens out the map pressure a little more. And ZachQ's back on the map as well. Like, once we're hitting 3-item spikes for the Orianna and the Vayne, that's when things start to tip heavily in favor of Unicorns of Love. And you can see that Trovo Nova know it. They're looking for the engage. Snealand's way overextended.
He had to flash. He gets stunned. Luckily enough, he flashed before the stun actually hits, so he's in a really comfortable spot right now. Trovo Nova trying to move on back. That's going to be actually a kill coming on through very early onto the likes of Vex. And now it's going to be a 5-on-4 in the favor of Unicorns of Love. Also losing ZachQ, so they lose most of their damage output potential. And because of that, Clamara's, he has no issue going for the backline. You got no more ZachQ, you got no more Vayne. He cannot get chunked down, and Trovo Nova win that one dominantly so, with 3 kills coming their way. And now that should be a pretty easy objective pickup later on.
Snealand was just so low, and I love that Clamara's held his ultimate for the right time until he found that avenue into the backline. I don't know what ZachQ's positioning was in this fight. He decided to face tank as a Vayne, which is never a good look. Take a look back at the fight. Okay, watch this. Snealand's taken down really low. Okay, unfortunately, ZachQ was
Cataclysm.
He was out of position in the first place though, and you can see now he gets pincered by Pose. That was actually a really good ult by Pose. Not really sure what Coldstar tried to do. He didn't have any stacks built up on the Twisted Fate, so unfortunately wasn't able to get a significant chunk down. And oh my word, looks like Trovo Nova are going to get the Ocean Dragon here. They just take out Kalisto, so Kalisto's down for this. And I think, unfortunately, this is going to be a rough comeback spot if you are Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, but before that last fighter we just saw, it was 6,000 gold lead in favor of Unicorns of Trovo Nova, but now he's actually going to the next level. They're starting to build up a gold lead just about now 10k. I think it's around 9k mark currently. And he got himself that Drake. It's going to be the Elder Ocean Drake. And in fact, so that's going to be some really big buffs potentially coming for you the next fight. And also off of that, they're going to get himself the Baron. That's big. And we talked about this many times, right, Scandal? Their objective game is strong. You win a fight, you get an objective. That is how you win it. And Unicorns of Love not quite able to make it happen this game.
Double objective take. Now, your only win condition for Unicorns of Love is late game Vayne at this point in time. You have no other win. Wait, did you lose bot lane inhibitor tower as well? Yep. Oh gosh, that's really bad. Yeah, Unicorns of Love, their real only win condition at this point is the Vayne. Now, it is getting towards a 4-item Vayne. That is a relatively good place to be. If you are ZachQ, you've got a lot of gold in your back pocket. You're kind of having everything funneled into you, despite your 248 scoreline. He's kind of been given pretty much all of these jungle creeps. So ZachQ is obviously accelerating himself to what I assume is going to be either a GA or maybe a Bloodthirst or an Infinity Edge. I don't know if he's picked up the Infinity Edge yet, but either way, he is kind of pushing his way towards the late game Vayne. That is the only win condition, though. You have to have Vayne pop off in these fights. It should be an Infinity Edge that he's aiming for at this point. If he's close to it, I mean, we could be looking at a good win condition for Unicorns of Love to try and play towards.
Yeah, this is the 1-3-1 use. Great usage of the Baron from Trovo Nova. That's what we want to see. They get himself already the bottom lane. In Tower, we saw that happen about 2 minutes ago currently, and they're looking for an extra one. If you get 2 Inhib Towers, most of the time, that's going to result in the win. The wave crashing in, and because of that, the waves are still pushing strong in both mid and the Baron lane. There you go. That's going to be the calling opportunity for them to try and take down these towers and secure himself some extra presence around the map thanks to that natural presence. It's going to be there until the end of the game. It's not like PC where it respawns. It doesn't on mobile. So you're going to have to deal with that for the remainder of this game. And get himself the Demasking Justice, not get it into the upper end. Big CC, pull him off the way. Nice damage onto Clamaris. He's going to be chunked on down by that dunk and going to have to move away. It's maybe not the finishing call just yet. They got really close, but luckily enough, the damage of Coldstar and ZachQ was significant enough to move Clamaris away.
This is it. This is the 3 inhibitors down. The only time I've ever seen a game be brought back from the brink of death versus 3 inhibitors is when there is a Vayne. There is a TP coming in. They're trying to utilize, I think, the Baron buff to its extremes, like trying to make it as difficult as possible for Unicorns of Love to get out of their own base. The one benefit of having these minions crash into you over and over again is, especially when there's no objectives on the map, it is free gold for the Vayne and it is free gold for the Orianna. And you do eventually, or you should eventually, have to win a team fight in order to take the game down. It is not impossible for Unicorns of Love to win this because they have the Vayne, they have the late game scaling. They just need to find the correct setup for the team fight.
It seemed like Trovenova did understand that, and they're trying to actually find close to this game as soon as possible. They don't want to give the opportunity to ZachQ and Snail and Ed to get any further ahead of this game. Grizzly Q going to try and go for the taunt, gets that Q into the fountain. Yeah, they're going for the win. They want to push it to a game 3, and that's exactly what Trovenova will be able to achieve in this second game of the series versus Unicorns of Love. Game 3 is going to be on the menu, ladies and gentlemen, to decide our third and last finalist team in Group B this time around. It's been a great showcase of what Trovenova can do. And Unicorns of Love, nice opportunities taken early to mid-game, but not enough in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely not. And I think, unfortunately, just some positional errors from ZachQ in some of those later game team fights. Unfortunately, he was caught out on that team fight that was very crucial around the Elder Dragon area. But I think at the end of the day, a good presence from Trovenova. They played it really safe and they just utilized wave pressure to try and crush in and take that win.
You know what? That's going to be most of our games done. Only one more game remains for Day 2 of the Origin series. So we'll head on over to a break and then we'll be joined up by Trid to try and check out what's going to be happening in the last game of the series for our second day. Got a lot of action, so don't go anywhere.
Well. It would be only fitting in our final game, or final match of the night, that we actually go the distance all the way to 3 games. It's nice to see Trovenova come back into this one. And the ZachQ win condition, they didn't have enough time to get him online. And to be honest, Kiernan, there were also some instances where ZachQ wasn't doing himself any favors. We've got a quick clip that I think you can run through and maybe illustrate something akin to that.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about it. It was the notorious fight where the game was still relatively winnable for Unicorns of Love. And I kind of don't, but also do blame ZachQ. I think it's one of those things where I'll break it down once we get to that drawing board segment, and I will kind of have a look at it for you. But to begin with, Sheeland Snailland just wasn't quite aware of this side of the map. They did have a ward here, and they did have a ward here, so they should have seen that this was the case. I just think they weren't respecting how easy it was for Jarvan to look for the engage. So they did have wards covering the areas around the Baron pit and the river entrances around the blue side jungle of Trovenova. So they should have seen that. But nonetheless, Sneeling gets taken down to 5th HP to kick the fight off. That's never a good look for your AP carry. Then you have ZachQ. He is the win condition for Unicorns of Love at this point in time. And he is positioned here. Even if he was looking to flank around here, it is a terrible position for a couple of reasons. One of which is the Galio is here. The other of which is you're against the Jarvan, and Jarvan can just jump over the wall. If it would be much better if ZachQ was, these terrible arrows. I'm sorry, guys. It'd be much better if ZachQ was over here. Yeah. And then he was behind the Lulu. He just plays pure front to back, and they probably win the team fight. But for some reason,
like a smiley face.
Exactly. There you go. For some reason, he wants to be here, and we're going to play it out. It's really fast. I'm so sorry. I have no idea why, but it's really fast. So yes, Jarvan EQs over the wall, locks him into the Cataclysm. Not so bad in itself if you had the support of your AP carry, but you don't. Your AP carry is nearly dead and is running away from the fight. So you're purely relying on Kalisto, Bistara, and Coldstar to do the majority of your work here, and absolutely no one is threatening Hydra and Pose. And unfortunately, ZachQ's predisposed because he gets locked up by the Cataclysm because he's out of position. And we play it out really quickly again. Stuck in the Cataclysm forever. And this is what even tilts me even further. Like, why not just then, after you get the kill, go this way? He goes this way initially.
Tilted, huh?
Like, he goes this way initially. Anyway, regardless, it was a bit of an in terms of positioning. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say it's all of Zach Q's fault. I would say that just not respecting the vision control that they had, and obviously not respecting the engage potential, and Orianna did nothing in this team fight. So there was a lot of pressure on Zach Q to perform. But when you pick a Vayne, that's kind of your composition. There is a lot of pressure on the Vayne to perform.
So just quickly off the back of this, Kieran, I noticed that Vistara gave the wild growth over to the Wukong as they went for the initiation. Surely if Vayne's your win condition, might you want to consider just saving the wild growth as an emergency button? Like, is that too much of a stretch?
It's a hit or miss, right? Because there's a very classic combo of Wukong and Luluwalt. You Wukong Cyclone, they come down from the knockup, you wild growth them back up. They come down from the wild growth, you Cyclone them back up. It's supposed to be like this chain CC train. So yeah, maybe, but I don't think wild growth would have saved Vayne in this instance anyway.
Yeah,
right.
They gave it a chance every once in a while, but unfortunately didn't quite happen. So we'll see a few of these clips happening where the combos maybe didn't come on to fruition for Unicorns of Love in these fights. This is one of the pretty early fights happening about mid-game. Was 9 minutes 30 seconds in, where Unicorns of Love won a very good condition. And this was actually the game that set them apart. That could have been the opportunity for them to actually get ahead into the game, but got themselves a little bit short at the end. And there were clear opportunities for them to make this game come their way, but I think that Trovo Nova, their objective game especially, is what set them ahead so heavily and made it hard for Unicorns of Love to find any points of pressure to get back into the game.
And in that first clip we saw in the highlight, one of the things I wanted to point out is like Trovo knew the game plan. Trovo was take down Zach Q, and in the entirety of the fight, even though you had Coldstar running in with the Darius, getting all of these kills, dealing all this damage, they were still trying to gun for Zach Q, and they just ignored the Darius. And I think that's one of the reasons why you saw Coldstar pop off there in that clip.
Yeah, just got a few targets extremely low, and of course, that's going to enable you to get those resets on the ultimate, on the Nox and Guillotine, and that's the reason why that fight went really well. But you're mainly focusing on that late game character that's going to be Zach Q. And that fight, especially, you just saw once again the replay, the Scoundrel broke down really well and hit the nail on the head. That position was, I would clearly say, horrendous, and it caused their demise at the very end of the game, causing it to go 1-1. Now down to game 3 between Unicorns of Love and Trovo Nova, so we'll see who will be the very first grand finalist team in Group B at the end of this next game.
Yeah, there's 2 paths ahead for both of these teams. One way is the direct route, and it takes you straight to the grand finals. You get there by winning this next game. The other way is a bit of a detour through the lower bracket. I know which I would prefer, and game 3 is going to set that up for us. Fellas, over to you.
Thank you very much, Drid. And indeed, we're going to be back on the Rift once again to give it a shot and see who will be our last finalist this time around. For Group B, is it going to be Unicorns of Love? Is it going to be Trovo Nova? We'll have the answer to that one right after. But a few players here we're looking back onto. Zach Q, position needs to be on top of your game if you want to make sure you allow Unicorns of Love to make it right into the grand finals.
Yeah, I think clearly very close between these two teams right now. I think both teams very evenly matched. It depends on the draft. I think Zach Q had hit or miss performances, but I think on the Vayne, like he played well for the majority. Just a couple of these little positioning errors unfortunately cost his team the game, and I think that is the problem when you draft a Vayne into like this very heavy frontline comp. You are kind of the win condition, and so when you kind of have that you get caught out or you get caught out of position, then the win condition kind of goes down the drain a little bit. Though I will say that Snailend obviously could have popped off on the Orianna, but unfortunately, in some of the crucial fights, got taken out way too early.
Yeah, especially Clamaris. He's the one that got himself the opportunity right off the bat in that fight to go for the Demas Injustice, smite it down, and of course that's going to do a tremendous amount of damage. Snail and Ned could not deal with in any way, shape, or form, so he gave it his best shot. But here we go for the last time today on day 2 of the Origin series here for the European region. We're back in the pick and ban phase as Unicorns of Love go straight after they did lose that game. They're going to choose their blue side, and Trovo Nova are going to be on the red. And one thing that's been consistent throughout these 3 games now has been the Ari ban, making me a very sad man, because I like Ari from time to time, but not this series, man.
It's a target ban versus pose. It's clearly a target ban versus pose. Like, he's a very, very kind of well-known Ari player. So yeah, the target ban is going to happen almost every time for Unicorns of Love. Blue side, red side, it doesn't matter. Loser does get to pick side selection though, so Unicorns of Love have chosen to go into the blue side this time round. They actually, I believe, Yeah, no, this is the first game they lost. They chose to go blue side. Trovo Nova chose to go back to blue side for their second game. So it is now our final game of the series. So everything counts right here. We're going to see a Camille ban against Clamares, a Kai'Sa ban. Wondering what the final ban is going to be. Ziggs, obviously something that you... Okay, no, it's going to be the Wukongs. So that means Ziggs first pick for sure, right? You just take Ziggs as Unicorns of Love in this sense.
Yeah, just got rid of it. It had some really good engage. It's just, I would say, down to communication. We talked about the misposition, especially, for example, of Zach Q. But of course, not only that, if your team is out of position, you're not going to be able to go for the full-on engage you're expecting with the likes of a Wukong. So it was a really strong champion, and I think it did help Unicorns of Love a lot in that second game, but there were some kind of issues along the way that did make it really hard for them to play around. Though Seraphine, I think it got banned a few times actually this series. So for the first time this time around, it's actually going to be open, and Trovo Nova will be the ones to snatch it first for their own volition. So I'm hyped to see what they're going to build around that one. And you can flex it in mid, in support. I typically prefer it support, but let's see if we can compare it with, and that's going to be with the Jarvan. I love this combo. It's so strong on Wild Drift. You go for the Cataclysm, and then it just enables a big encore line to come on through. You hit that CC extremely easily, if you do not burn the flashes at least. So yeah, Jarvan and also the Seraphine, I think you can't go wrong with that duo.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think Seraphine Jarvan is a very strong combo. I think most people right now like to play Seraphine mid or Seraphine in the AD carry or just the bot lane position. Support, you don't really get enough gold for a lot of people. You know, people like to build Seraphine more aggressive and sort of play the full AP play style. So Braum is a brilliant answer into Seraphine though. Like if you can just use the Unbreakable, you block the sort of the chain of the Encore, and you just really kind of stop Seraphine in her tracks. So if you can just time it correctly, Braum is an excellent pickup into the Seraphine. I really applaud this coming off from Unicorns of Love. And actually, Unicorns of Love have got a relatively solid draft already. Good front line. You've got good sort of answers for what you've seen already from the Trovo Nova draft. Just rounding this out with a strong jungler and a relatively safe AD carry would be good. Of course, you know, Vayne is the answer into Garen a lot of the times. And so that is going to be the same for Trovo Nova this time around for Hydro.
They're going to try and go for the juggler, the Vayne, of course, and that hero pool of both Braum and also the Garen is going to be really valuable. Lee Sin, though, this time around is going to be picked up by Unicorns of Love. So I think they could be a very interesting one if you want to try and get access to the likes of the Vayne or also to this Seraphine. It could work out, but the thing is, especially Vayne with the final hour can go invisible for a few seconds, and also he's got really good repositioning value. It's going to be hard for the Lee Sin, I'm not going to lie. If it does get an early lead for your team, then that's going to be really strong. But in team fight, I'm having a really hard time seeing how truly impactful this Lee Sin can be. It can happen, but I think it's going to be really hard seeing how good the mobility of the Jarvan the Fourth, of the Gragas, and also of this Vayne is actually going to be. So I'm a little bit doubtful on if it can actually pull off as they might expect in this game.
Well, I think the Ziggs is going to be the key issue here, right? Ziggs is going to be the ability to kind of get a lot of damage down, as we saw Snitch do in his game of Ziggs, or his couple of games of Ziggs. You need to get a lot of damage down before the fight even starts. And also, Ziggs is a really good way to snowball towers and snowball global gold, which can kind of put Vayne on the back foot. And again, with this comp, you are kind of relying on the Vayne to be your majority carry, because if Braum just does his job, really makes Seraphine much less of a threat in these team fight situations. So Vayne will be the person you're relying on. Hydro is going to have to step up to the plate here as the main carry for Trovo Nova. And if you can just get the damage down and snowball the game a little bit beforehand, then put Vayne behind an item spikes, and it might not even be relevant. You know, that's kind of like that front line and the Lee Sin's impact here. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Unicorns to love to snowball this game. You don't give Hydro the time to scale up. If you do, then of course Vayne's can take over the game.
Yeah, when I'm looking back at the history of Trovo Nova and the past few community tournaments that we're involved with, Grizzly Q, when Lux support was a really big thing, he would play that an insane amount. Could be still played in mid position if you want to, but he is an extremely talented and gifted Lux player. If you play those cards correctly and you especially are able to negate the impact and the backline opportunities of the Lee Sin, Lux could be really impactful. And there's a very clear wombo combo when it comes down to it. You got your Cataclysm into a Encore. You got also the Body Slam, plus also your Explosive Cast. There's so much CC potential. Of course, I just mentioned, right, the Bunning Lights of Grizzly Q on this Lux. If they play their team fights correctly, Trovo Nova, in terms of pure team fighting potential, I would say do have a little bit of a lead. But Unicorns of Love, on the other side, I like their peeling, especially offered by Zach Q with that Blade Cooler, and Bistara also with the Unbreakable, making sure most of the abilities, especially the Encore, does not make it to your backline. So I think these are very well paired matchups up against each other, but I do think that because of the composition of Trovo Nova, Unicorns of Love have a really good chance to mitigate a lot of the tools that Trovo Nova might try and play around.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think what I'm really looking for Unicorns of Love here is to just get priority and really play. What really impressed me from Trovo Nova's perspective last game was how well they controlled the waves. They constantly put Unicorns of Love on the back foot just by having really good wave control. When you've got a Ziggs, you need to be the team that has the better wave control, because you want to use that wave control to try and allow you to, again, get onto towers quickly and snowball them as much as you can using Ziggs' really, really strong tower taking potential. So that's what I'm obviously keeping my eyes on here for Unicorns of Love. We really want to see Ziggs snowballing these towers as much as he can, because I think if you get to a true team fight situation, or you let Vayne scale up a little hard, one mistake versus a Seraphine, if you don't quite place the Braum Unbreakable correctly, clearly could prove to be a little bit of an issue. But I also think that if you do get into a team fight and you're able to take out the Vayne either through isolating them with the Lee Sin or just catching them out with the Garen, then you are very clearly going to have an advantage if you're just able to block that Seraphine ultimate. So it swings and roundabouts. It really comes down to execution in these team fights, honestly.
Very clearly for Trovo Nova. We'll see if they can hopefully get himself in better positions this time around, and that will be the advantage point. Scuttle, no double scuttle control. Not a lot of double scuttle controls throughout the entirety of today, I would even say. We saw a lot of those in day one, but it seemed like teams have been able to adapt on the fly a little bit more to those kind of early invades into the opposing Riverside. Though Blue Camp is going to be a little bit leashed out by Unicorns of Love. They looked for the opportunity. They saw Vex was already present on the on this environment, so they're not going to give it any further shot. But though they got himself the Braum, they want to get himself those shots, proc the passive, but Hydra, of course, can very easily reposition. So a lot of time lost, I would almost say, for Unicorns of Love here.
Yeah, a lot of time lost for Unicorns of Love, and as you said, like not able to find much early love versus this comp. You don't need to kind of run out the gates and start swinging your hammer versus a Vayne. You've got plenty of time before Vayne scales up to be a realistic threat in this game. So I don't think you have to panic too much if you're Unicorns of Love at this stage in the game. But obviously these big first dragon fights, I do actually think versus a Vayne, you want to be the team that's there set up around the dragon. You want to start forcing neutral objectives as quick as possible. The quicker that you take the Drake, the quicker you can get as many dragons in before the Elder spawns. You obviously want to try and get as many dragons in before the Vayne becomes a relevant threat. So I really want to see Unicorns of Love be the first to the dragon pit. Get the dragon pit set up correct. Put yourselves in the position to win the fight. At this stage in the game, the Vayne's damage is pretty pathetic. So you should, as long as you're blocking the Seraphine ultimate with Braum, come out on top 9 times out of 10 in this first team fight, if that's Trovo Nova even wants to contest it. But that's what I want to see from Unicorns of Love. You need to be the team that's proactive and setting up these Drakes as quickly as possible. Yeah,
I agree. And general, just to add to that, I would say he also got a really good... Oh, okay, engage, Mega Inferno Bomb. Going to actually flash away from that one. I don't think it was going to actually kill him, but he did get ignited, so maybe he was a little bit more doubtful of his position. Though Kalisto, there you go, not playing the Wukong this time around, but he's already present into the bottom side of the map, potentially looking for a 3v2 turret dive, but seemed like he's not going to go for it. That Lux, I think, is the main reason why he doesn't want to. One Binding Lights in the tower, and you got aggro, and you're dead in literally seconds. So they now need to look towards the future, get ready for this first dragon fight. It's going to be Mountain Drake. Get yourself some extra shield throughout the entirety of this game. Would be pretty cool to have for yourself. So early fight for the Scuttle, who's going to get the vision, and also going to be moving away the rest of Unicorns of Love that are very clearly not ready for this fight, as both the Garen and also the Ziggs is not present on these environments.
Way too late. Like, they're so late to set up here. Like, they need to be the first team set up. You can't give free objectives to a Vayne and a Seraphine. And Clamara's, I mean, it was a zoning ult. We call it a zoning ult. But they get the dragon, and look, they can't even fight. And that's a huge win for Trovo. You should not be giving these kind of fights over to them this early on.
Yeah, 1,000 gold lead, and also the Mountain Drake looking to try and push in mid. I mean, they do have the Ziggs then, and they got himself also an ultimate that's not up for Pose. The fact that ultimate's not up, and he's also out of mana. He's you can't pause any threat there. They can clear it so quickly. Actually, that's going to be a great ultimate. Their final spark from Grizzly Q on the Lux is going to be able to clear that entire wave, so they can't get themselves a play or two. If they could, that could have been reducing that gold advantage that Trovo Nova was able to build up. But nice attempt. Unicorns of Love, as you said, very slow reset to actually try and get prepared for that fight. Does not make matters easier for them, so they need to be a little bit more reactive to how things are changing around the map.
Yeah, but I'm just a little worried. Like, you've given such an early team fight for free over to Trovo Nova. Well, versus a Vayne, you need to take any opportunity that you can to put pressure on this type of champion. Because if you just let them have these free objectives, these free team fights, I mean, this is good actually.
Yeah, it seemed like they heard you. Got himself the concussive blows plus D, also Glacial Fissure. But it's still not going to happen just yet. Oh, you must be kidding me. I thought that was going to be finally the kill coming on through. Zach, you did have potentially also the Feather Storm if you wanted to, but he's going to hold on to that one for his dear life for the Herald fight that should be happening in just around 20 seconds. The lane swaps already came on through. But this is another opportunity. This is your second chance, Unicorns of Love, to win the fight versus Hydro of Trovo Nova to make sure that he doesn't get in line. So I'm hoping to see that coming on through as Hydro's getting back to base. He's going to get some more items and become even more of a threat for the fight to come.
Now, Vayne doesn't really become that scary until like 2 to 3 items, realistically 3.
Yeah.
So we, like, even if you're making some mistakes here for Unicorns of Love, it's not the end of the world. But I just feel like they're kind of giving too much space to Trovo Nova here. And again, too much space. The ultimate comes through.
Yeah, final spark, not going to find the target. Re-engage, they got himself the concussive blows, and also into the Dragon's Rage. So deep, so far. Clamar trying his best to soak up the damage, taking ages to actually kill him, and during that time, the rest of the team is actually getting taken and chugged down to very low HP, especially the likes of Vex. Trovo Nova want to go for the push. Very low on mana, so I would say you might want to rethink this push twice, and I think they understood it now. Liso hits it. He's going to click the button. He's going to do it. He's not going to do it, though. Normally at least Sid player would do it in my rank games, but in the Origin series, it seemed like he had a little bit more of self-restraint in that position.
That's a pretty decent, I think, and lucky team fight for Unicorns of Love. Like, they could have very easily gone wrong. We'll take a look back at it here. Luxalt comes through. They secure the Rift Herald, which is nice. Clamaris just didn't quite pick his position for the flank very well. His team weren't quite set up for it. Somehow, Unicorns of Love escape with a sliver of HP. A nice zoning minefield from the Ziggs kind of slows the re-engage coming down from Trovo Nova. And that is a Rift Herald that's picked up as well as a singular kill, the first kill of the game, including First Blood, now going the way of Unicorns of Love. They want to keep this pressure up, though. Start to use that Rift Herald to buy some space. You can see that the Cloud Dragon spawning, they are going to drop it mid, and maybe this will allow Steelin to get that first power of the game for free. And you can see, I don't even think they're going to need to use the Ziggs Execute. He'll get that with the Rift Herald, which is nice because they can now reset and set up for the Drake fight, which they need to do.
There was also a very obvious separation. Where's he going to get another one? Hey, he doesn't even get himself the plate, but that's fine. Get himself down to 2,500 HP. But there was a very obvious split in what the decision-making of Unicorns of Love were. Clamaris was very deep. He actually got ulted 2 times in that fight. He got ulted by the Demacian Justice of Cold Star and also by the Dragon's Rage of Kalisa, put him out of position, and he was just 100% locked into the pit. And then Unicorns of Love wanted to take 2 fights at the same time, having 2 players focused on Clamaris and 3 other players focused on the entire roster of Trovo Nova. I found that a little bit weird, so I'm hoping to see that kind of mistake ironed out for the next fights to come, because I think if they play together a little bit better there and the synergy was a little bit more on point, that could have been a fight coming the way of Unicorns of Love. But those few little seconds where you're not taking the fight as a crew, you're taking a lot more damage and giving the edge back in favor of Trovo Nova, so they need to try and work on that one. Now Cloud Drake is going to get pushed. Get the TP in for Stara.
I think you need to fight it. You can't give free dragons. You can't give free dragons over to Unicorns of Love, and I think this should be good enough for them to go for it. Though Vex doesn't quite find the steal. Seraphine Ultimate whiffs again. I mean, it's a good opportunity to look for a fight, but Unicorns of Love don't want to take the risk, and they're just going to take the free dragon and back out.
Yeah, good little pickup for them. Of course, you're not going to try and fight it. This is what I wanted to see them do, actually, at the very first fight, to try and make sure that Hydra doesn't get too in line with their best shot. Though bottom lane, Trovo Nova want to get himself a little bit more gold, get himself another objective. So we'll see if they can get the tower. Vex is ready to maybe create an opportunity, gets the flag out. Not going to track it just yet. You got to be careful. You might be having a little encounter versus Snail and Ned, and I think Snail and Ned's going to have to move away. He's got the satchel charge if really wants to try and create that distance. But now 9 minutes into the game, 1 kill only. This is very slow pace, but there's a lot of weight behind this very clearly. Scoundrel, a spot into the grand finals, nothing to mess around with. So they are clearly putting their best foot forward in this series.
I think you kind of have to at this point, but I think the clock is ticking if you are Unicorns of Love. Now, obviously, Ziggs does scale, but, you know, a good Vayne, especially versus limited lockdown potential coming out from from Unicorns of Love, a good Vayne should be able to put this game in the completed tick box. If you're able to get to that stage in the game where Vayne's going to be becoming incredibly relevant. And we're looking at almost 2 items now for Hydra. So I'm just keeping a little eye on that little Vayne item ticker. Hitting that 3 item spike will prove to be a little issue for Unicorns of Love. But I do like what they're doing right now, trying their best to push these turrets. When the engage comes through, they might get caught out on the rotate here.
Yeah, Pose barely has himself his ultimate back on cooldown. He should be available. Push them away. The encore once again does not connect. I don't know. Pose really having an issue with that ability. They're going to have to move out of that fight. But I just checked something actually very interesting. If Unicorns of Love actually lose this match here, Scandal, they'll be facing up against BK Rogue Esports, which is actually the team they kicked out in the very first round of Group B. So it will be a very fun redemption arc and a little bit of a gotcha moment if they fight versus BK Rogue, and BK Rogue actually pushed them out. So we'll see if Unicorns can make it happen. But for that, they need to lose this match, and Unicorns of Love not going to make that an easy feat to achieve for Trovo Nova, as they currently have a very slim but certain goal lead of just about 2.5k. They can try and build something upon, but it is not obvious with such a slim goal lead 11 minutes into the game.
Yeah, what I want to see from Unicorns of Love over the next few minutes is set up for the Drake fight. Make that a priority. Like, you want to just secure as many Drakes as possible. You gave away the first one for free. You definitely don't want it to be the case. Try and get your wave control set so that you can take as many towers off any small team fight wins as possible. You literally just need seconds, if you're a Ziggs player, to take a tower away from the enemy. So I really want to see them trying to rotate that Ziggs as much as they can. He's clearly on wave clear duty right now because Trovo Nova are doing a really good job of just prioritizing the mid lane wave, shoving it in and making it very difficult for Sneeland to kind of like move around the map right now, which is obviously limiting the tower taking potential of Unicorns of Love. But I do just want to make sure that Unicorns of Love are the team that's being the proactive one. They need to take the fight to Trovo Nova, because Trovo Nova will be very happy to sit back and say, cool, you do your thing. We're going to wait until we get to a certain point in the game, and then we're going to take over.
Really like the item purchase from Bistar here, going for the Frozen Heart, reduced that attack speed from Hydro. That's going to be really valuable later on down the line for the next fight to come. So I think that's a great item coming up from him. You like to do it, for example, in the Jinx. Kaiser's pretty good too, but I think especially in the Vayne, where she is very clearly and obviously the win condition for your team, that's an item that's going to be really worth your time. So I'm happy that Bistar actually went towards that kind of purchase. On the other side, Pose got himself his Rabbit on death cap, so he's going to get that big extra burst of damage. But for that to happen, you've got to hit your ultimates, and we haven't seen Pose do that too often. So got to hit those, mate.
No, and also you still have to get through the barrier of Bistara using the Unbreakable. Now they will get another tower here, so they're slowly knocking on the door of these tier 2s now. And that will start to open up the gold lead a little further to 4k. Just want to see them continue that. Now we have the next Drake spawning up, and you need to get Unicorns of Love back into the driving seat here, set up effectively around that Drake that you can see. Xayah staying on the top side of the map when Drake is spawning, that is a little questionable to me. What is he going to get there? He's getting one extra wave. Oh no, Pose.
We're used to it. It's fine. It's fine. We don't.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We've seen that enough times this game.
But yeah, he's not present at all. He had to go back to base, walk it down the mid lane. Hopefully we'll be able to beat back in time, and Trovo Nova will not be able to find that opportunity just yet. I thought Clamaris could have gone for a sneaky explosive cast the moment he saw that Zaku was going to be into the Baron lane position, but hasn't been able to do and find that opportunity as of yet. So yep, Dragon's still up. 1 for 1 so far in Dragons. They'll see if they can get it for themselves. Unicorns of Love got priority in that position because of how they're positioned around the map in the river. And they got also vision priority. So they're going to have a lot of extra details of what's happening in that riverside. Making it out for Trovo Nova. And they actually sent Clemaris back into the top side. If they want to go for Drake now, this would be the prime chance to do so. Oh, they showed again. You got it. Observer team, you got to do that to Pose, right?
Poor Pose instead of last one. They're going to get the Drake here. They had to send Clamaris to the top side of the map, I think, just purely because even though I think what Zaku did was incredibly greedy, Zaku went for a random wave topside when the dragon had spawned. It did mean that there was a huge wave crashing into the tier 2 at the top side of the map. So you're either going to lose a ridiculous amount of gold and a ridiculous amount of experience, or you go up there and take it. Now it means there's 2 dragons secured. The Unicorns of Love. The Elder is the Elder Infernal. That is the ticket. That's your ticket to beat a Vayne in the late game. If you could pick up the Elder Infernal, like you could potentially, even if Vayne makes it to that stage in the game, you could potentially just have her number. She might be around the 3 item mark once we get to that point in the game. Only 9,000 gold in her back pocket though, so isn't exactly crazy accelerating. However, it's definitely one of the more fed members on her team. And I've just got to be, obviously I'm keeping the eyes on that item ticker. It's only 2.5 items right now, though. So still in an okay spot if you're Unicorns of Love. These team fights haven't exactly been easily executed by Trovo Nova. And Unicorns of Love do have some scaling elements of their own as well, including the Garen scales quite nicely as a tank. We obviously have Sneeland scaling nicely as an AP carry threat. Lots of damage output. Oh, Grizzly. Nice flash.
Yeah, that was a necessary flash. Otherwise, he was going to be potentially going down instantly. That was a very good call from him, I would say. Having to move on back. They're trying to keep their mid lane towers up and ready to go. I mean, they already lost the first mid lane tower a little bit earlier. Unicorns of Love, if they lose theirs, that could make it a little bit even Stevens in that position. Zaku trying to get the angle onto the Vex, but can very get the flag and drag out of that one. Though Clamaris definitely overstepping his welcome. The Uncle, once again, not going to be hitting the valuable targets into the back line. Vex trying to best go solo onto the back, but he's just going to be completely out of position. Your team is not there to help you, mate. Trovo Nova down now to 4. Gonna try their best. Unicorns of Love, do not go too far. You win that fight. That's big. That's great. But you do not want to give that over for free to Trovo Nova. They move on back as he's still got the Unbreakable getting ready to back up and support any damage coming out from Trovo Nova.
Damn. Still not a decisive team fight win against Trovo Nova. Let's take a look back at that replay here. Again, not the best ultimate from Pose, but look, no one's threatening Hydro. Even though they pick up the kill onto Jarvan, Hydro still stays really safe. And now the HP bars are low enough, it's going to force Unicorns of Love away. Versus the Seraphine, she scales up super well as like a protecting mid laner as well, giving huge shields and huge heals in the right circumstances over to Hydro too. It's going to be really difficult at this stage of the game with the Lux and the Seraphine to actually kill this Vayne. It's something that I actually neglected to talk about, and I'm a terrible analyst for not doing so, but you have got heals coming out of your wazoo and shields coming out of the same place for Trovo Nova. Like, you have got oodles of effective HP that you can gift over to this Vayne and make it almost impossible, realistically, to take her down easily in these team fights.
Yeah, it's making him just extra survivable, so it's working really well for Hydro so far, and that's the reason why you just didn't get even touched. You didn't even need that extra healing or whatsoever. If you did, I'm sure it would have come on through just fine, and Hydro could have been that big threat, but Unicorns of Love's got to be careful how they position. If they go any further, there is going to be that peeling that Hydro showed a few glimpses of in that middle lane fight that could have been the downfall of Unicorns of Love. They need to be extremely cautious of how they approach these fights, and if Hydro's still alive, as you said, you do not want to push any further unless you know with 100% certainty that you're going to be the team to come out on top. If you don't, you give over a bunch of kills to Hydro. He's currently the only one really, I would say, carrying this game, and he's 0-0-0. I can't even say that, but he's the one doing the most damage output. That's something you can very clearly say. They've got to be a little bit more decisive on how they approach these situations, because now the next Drake is going to be up. That's going to be the Elder Infernal. Actually get it right this time around. And this is going to be one that could very easily set a team apart from the other.
Yeah, I just get the impression, though, that we might have left this game a little too late for Unicorns of Love. You've got a Seraphine who's scaled up pretty nicely. You have Lux who's picked up her core items for defensively keeping that Vayne safe. This is the team fight that Trovo Nova are going to have to be involved in, though. You really can't afford to give away the Elder. You've had enough time where you've just ignored objectives. You've bought enough time to just, okay, Vayne and Lux are backing. This is a little bit of an awkward one. My God, if Unicorns of Love had the vision to know that, if they had the knowledge that Vayne had backed here, we could have just looked at a straight up Elder Infernal take. But it looks like they didn't have the knowledge of the map. They didn't have the vision to see that they'd gone for the backport. If they'd gone for the backport, that might have actually just been straight up Elder Infernal taken.
We can draw a parallel very easily between these two teams. The backport times can be a little bit off from time to time for both Trovo Nova and Unicorns of Love. Earlier we saw it was the likes of, I think it was Zach Q that went back a little bit late. They're really looking to try and pick up this mid lane tower, try and push them away. Maybe if they want to try and facilitate priority towards that Dragon Pit, that's indeed what they're going to do. GA now just got purchased by Cold Star. He's not in a fight, but Trovo Nova do not have really an insane amount of deep vision, so they do not have too much information if Cold Star is there or not. Is he present or not? Don't really know. They're not going to be taking that chance whatsoever. As now it's just a battle of who can clear these waves faster. And it seemed like Trovo Nova's the one that's clearing it really fast, especially thanks to the Seraphine.
Yeah, a bit of a dance here between these two teams. Like, clearly, Elder Infernal is one of the most coveted objectives in the game in terms of just that late game scaling that it offers you. And you can see Trovo Nova not willing to give this one over free, but the longer that they stall it, it feels like the better for them, though Vex almost caught out. Nice, not the best Ziggs ult in the world, actually. Didn't get as much value out of it as you'd hope it would, but the Ziggs ultimate isn't on the longest cooldowns. If you can just buy more time here for Unicorns of Love. Hydro's kind of had enough, though. Looking for the engage. Lots of low HP bars, though, for Trovo Nova. They have to be very careful, but they do have the sustain of the Seraphine to work with. They're going to use that redemption early on here. That pre-fight damage that we talked about with the Ziggs is kind of working out right now for Unicorns of Love.
Oh, Clamar's got to be careful there. Brawn passive into the Encore. That's your call. You are forgiven, Pose. That's a big one. Though, straight for the backline. That's going to be the likes of also Vex trying his best. I don't know what's really happening on this side, but you know what? Unicorns of Love, now they're looking pretty good. They still got themselves all of their players up and ready to go, but though the health bar are low, and this is the best opportunity for Hydro to strike while the iron is hot. One kill going over to Snail and Ned. The Megan for the bomb. There you go. The ultimate is such short cooldown. You just said it, Scoundrel, and it actually pays dividends in this one. Early sin. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You got the fight. Go for the Drake. That is the focus.
The GA's actually popping off this fight, by the way, and Sneelane's just absolutely decimating with his damage output. That was the fight that I think Trovo Nova needed to win, and I think the unfortunate thing is we're going to see some teleports coming through. I don't know if he's going to get you anything, though. You can see Grizzly Q, desperation attempt at going for the Elder Infernal, doesn't get it. with the ultimate from Lux. And I think at the end of the day, Trovo Nova now need to rely on like a 4 to 5 item vein to really carry them through here, because you didn't want to lose that objective.
This game is so intense. There you go. The encore once again posed. That was amazing. That was exactly what we want to see coming out from Trovo Nova, but it did end up actually struggling a lot.
The GAs just made it so difficult for Hydro to position. Like he didn't want to go beyond that GA. I think it was of Kalisto, because he was like, well, as soon as he respawns, I'm going to be out of position. I could get kicked, I could get executed or anything. So the GA zone technique doing really well versus Hydro in that situation. And as you said, Pose did get a good ultimate that time around, but it wasn't enough. And there was, the GAs just prevented Vayne from popping off and cleaning up that front line. Now, the next fight will not have those Guardian Angels available. So maybe Hydro, who's working towards his Trinity Force, which he's just finished up now, could find the edge. I think, I would have preferred. I think there's a bit of a discussion in the meta right now about what's the best main build, but Trinity Force is good because it gives her a lot more extra movement speed, which is nice.
Yeah, the Frozen High, I actually thought it would be really impactful. The attack speed is a lot slower for Hydra in those fights, though. Final Spark gets some decent damage, and they just get completely melted to the ground. Nothing can do. Trovo Nova down to now 2 is Grizzly Q and Hydro. And you know what? There's nothing can do. You have no front line. You have to try and escape it. Hydro jumps on over the wall, gets the extra potential move speed, but no, Kalisto will be the one to find closure to the fight, and they could finish it potentially right here. The respawn time is of 40 seconds here, Scoundrel.
Oh, I think this could be. I mean, you don't have the quickest
RTP,
power taking, and Lux is available. She might be able to just clear this wave out with her ultimate, but double TP's coming through. You have the Ziggs, actually. This might actually just be series in game.
Yep, Unicorns of Love, they're going to go for it. And we said it, you do not want to sleep on these guys. That's the Unicorns of Love. They trot themselves to victory, take the series 2-1 versus Trovo Nova. One of the biggest upsets we've seen so far in the Origin series, and will be Group B's first grand finalist team.
Yeah, really, really well played from them. And I think I felt that they were maybe being a bit slow in that game, but it was very calculated. The Ziggs doing huge work before these team fights popped off, and I loved that fight. That was a brilliant fight just before the Elder, where those GAs really just zoned Hydro away. Hydro could never really find the ability to shred through that front line. That could have been the game-winning fight had it not been for some two really crucial GAs on Kalisto and on I believe it was Cold, because you don't usually buy GA on Garen. It's not a typical item for Garen in the tank format in the top lane, but they bought it because it naturally zones Vayne away. She does not want to move past the GA, so it's 5 seconds where she can't walk past that GA barrier, and she has to wait for them to respawn and then kill them one by one. But in the meantime, the rest of your team was cleaning up.
Well, you know what? Trit talked about it earlier. Which way do you want to get access to the grand finals? Do you want to go the easy, direct way through the winners bracket, or do you want to go for a little bit of a detour? Look at the horizon and see what's going on through the lower bracket. Well, it seems like that's what Trovo Nova are going to have to do. We'll have to check out their matches up tomorrow, though. With that said, we're now going to head on over to a break for the very last time, and then after that, we'll be back with Trit to not only break out this game, but break down everything that's happened on day 2 of the Origin series. Go nowhere.
But across all 3 of our groups, we now have at least one confirmed grand finalist. Unicorns of Love have found a way to secure the Group B grand final, and Trovo Nova are taking the detour down in the lower bracket. Kiernan, I'm going to come to you first because you started to explain the concept of GA zoning. And I think we have the clip ready on the drawing board for you to walk us through that and actually flesh this out.
Okay. It's not a real concept. I made this up, but I think it aptly describes what happened.
It was actually fitting, though. It actually makes a lot of sense.
I think it actually describes what happened in this team fight, and I think it's
me.
Well, hopefully at the end of this drawing board we won't be confused, but I guess we'll see. Once we jump into it, I will start to explain the concept, right? So I did just mention before this team fight started, 2 GAs on the opposition, Coldstar and Kalisto. Okay, both of these guys are threats to Hydro. So if Hydro die, or Hydro's near them, they are both threats to Hydro, and Hydro does have to be careful about the positioning around both the Lee Sin and the Garen. But Garen doesn't typically buy GA, so it was an interesting buy. That's why I was kind of like, oh, I don't really know many tank Garens that buy GA, but it made sense for this team fight. I'm going to show you. Right.
Just to clarify, though, he's not buying it just for the zoning.
No, he's not buying it just for this team fight. It's still a decent item. No one buys GA No one buys GA to set up for what I call GA zoning. But let's have a look. This is a really good ultimate. Like, that was a 4-man ultimate from Pose. Like, when you look at this team fight, you're like, this is 1, right? You're like, oh my god, Trovo just smurfed it. This is 1. But Sneerlane is completely untouched over here on this bottom side of the team fights. He's perfectly fine. And they just about sort of managed to bounce back with the GAs. Now watch this, okay? Watch this, right? Zach Hughes over here kind of zoning Hydro away. This entire area, Hydro just has to sit here and wait. He's like, oh god, I've got to wait for Lee Sin to respawn, because if I walk past Lee Sin, like I'm gonna get rid of this, right? If I walk past Lee Sin, I obviously can't walk towards Zach, but if I try and go like this way or this way, if Lee Sin just respawns and still has his kick available, or if he's still able to just like land a sonic wave on me, especially with this HP, I'm just dead. So he can't walk past the Lee Sin, who's dead by the way in GA. Look at him. He's just like, what do I do? What do I do? Not even basic attacking. And on the back end of things as well, we have Colstar with his GA. So you can't even follow up. Colstar didn't die, but if he did, you know, Hydra would do the same thing. And eventually he walks straight into the middle of the Ziggs ult, goes down from half HP and dies. So just by Lee Sin having the GA there, which is, by the way, a very standard item for Lee Sin, and no one buys it for this particular purpose, he couldn't move past Lee Sin, and he had to walk back towards his own base. He couldn't get into the fight, couldn't get through the front line. Obviously, Zach Q did a good job of just like making sure he couldn't come that way, you know, further down the river. But just by being in GA, you had to respect the fact that Lee Sin was going to respawn and potentially put the pressure onto you as the Vayne. And she basic attacked maybe like 3 times. Couldn't get into the fight at all because she was being zoned away by what was technically a dead Lee Sin.
All right, well, we've got an interview ready with Coldstar. I'm going to bring him into the fray. I'll jump back with you guys in a second. Coldstar, Unicorns of Love are now in the grand finals. You're feeling good, right? You're loving life.
Yeah, I'm feeling so good. Yeah, I hope you can hear me well. Yeah, I'm feeling so amazingly great. And that was really shaky and nervous series against Nova, because all the previous times we lost to them in tournaments, and now we win.
Yeah, this is a huge result. I won't lie to you. We kind of were betting on Trovo Nova to win this one, if I'm honest with you. So it came as a bit of an upset to us. You guys were able to eventually beat them out. I want to quickly ask about Vayne as a champion, because we saw it not really picked up anywhere else other than in your match from what we broadcasted. Zach, you went on to it game 2. Didn't work out for you guys. Trovo Nova then stole it away, and you were able to beat it. When they locked in the Vayne for game 3, were you thinking, oh, they just dunked us, we'll just do what they did to us in game 3? What was the game plan to shut down the Vayne on Trovo Nova?
We were prepared. We knew that it can possibly be Vayne, but we wasn't afraid of Vayne, because Vayne has a bit weak early game, so you can put a lot of pressure on the map in early game, and there is no way she can actually answer to that, especially when you pick some aggressive AD carry like Xayah, like we did. So we just try to put on a lot of pressure and have objectives and have control of the game. So that's like the advantage that you get over the Vayne. But if you get Vayne, you want to scale, you want to get like 3-4 items for Vayne, and you need time for her to scale. So in second game, we preferred that play style with the scaling Vayne. And in the third game, we realized that we have a strong early game, and we have to abuse that to not allow Vayne to get her power spikes quickly.
And I've got to point out, in game 2, the Vayne wasn't working out for you, but you had a lot of fun on Darius in game number 2. I think particularly around the mid lane, I think you got a chain dunk of triple kills in the middle lane as well, and you're being a bit of a monster in the side lanes. Is Darius one of your favorite champions? Like, what does your hit champion pool look like, Coldstar, for those who don't know you?
Yeah, Darius is definitely the champion I really like. I play a lot of Darius, and it's a really nice champ to play. Fiora also, I love. You've probably seen the first game when I played Fiora. I really enjoyed that one. And Camille, many teams know that I usually pick it in the first game, and then Camille gets banned all other games. So nobody let me play my Camille. So it's about. So we all could also see Olaf games and etc. So it's kind of big champion pool with Gragas, Malphite. So basically a lot of champions that Wild Rift can offer, I can play. So, and adding to second game, the Darius, I a bit misplayed in the second part of the game with the kind of focus that we had on opponents. So I a bit misplayed there, especially in the team fight where I followed Kai'Sa with my E flash, and I drag it into tower, but then I followed too deep, and that was kind of a disaster for us in that team fight.
But it's fine that you ultimately came back and you got the win. So you're in the grand final. Trovo Nova are now in the lower bracket. I believe we're waiting for the results. They've either got Mortal Shot or BK ROG Esports. Out of those 3 teams, who do you think you're more than likely going to be facing in the grand final on Thursday?
It depends a lot on Trovo. You say how they feel, if they're not tilted, and if they are in good shape. I think they're gonna have the game against Mortal Shot or BK Rock. Although, I mean, anyway, BK Rock and Mortal Shot both are really good teams. They do really well. We played against both of them, if you saw, and we 2-0 them both, but they did a really good job in our games against them. So I felt like we came back from 5k deficit against Mortal Shot, and BK Rock, they just a little bit, they misplayed a little bit in the early game in both games, so we could make it 2-0. But overall, really, they're really good teams. So I think they can have a good fight against Trovo, but I think we will face Trovo again in grand finals, most likely.
All right, then. Well, I'm hoping for that rematch. I absolutely love this series. Congratulations on your victory. You get the day off tomorrow. We'll see you again on Thursday, hopefully.
Yeah, sure. We will have a small day off, but we are looking forward to watch the games that will happen tomorrow, and we wish good luck to all the teams that will play tomorrow and today and tomorrow. And yeah, that's gonna be a cool rematch or cool series if any other teams goes by. And thanks to you for the cast, and thanks everyone who were cheering for Unicorns of Love.
Thank you so much, Cold Star. Oh man, I love Cold Star. He's already won me over.
He's
so
a great
wholesome.
guy.
He's actually really humble as well. I thought it was really cool that he was also like wishing the other competitors good luck. He's like, hey, there's lower bracket matches. We're going to be watching from home, but they got a match to play. Wishing them all the best of luck. Max, I'm going to come to you first. Our thoughts on that series now that you've given time to collect yourself. Unicorns of Love, if they go up against Trovo Nova in the grand finals on Thursday, do you think they still win it all?
I think there's a very clear world where they win themselves another matchup versus Trovo Nova. They show that they had opportunities, and especially when they get to the late game, their team fight gets really strong. But there's very obvious things that they have to improve on. We talked about, and Excandral especially mentioned the fact that you got that ticking time bomb, which is going to be that Vayne, and you need to try and take some really strong early to mid-game fights. They didn't do that, and that could have been their downfall. Luckily enough, their team fights actually worked out great in the grand scheme of things. That's a few of the things I'm hoping to see them improve on. If they do, then they're confirming themselves that they are the superior team to Trovo Nova. So they can make it happen once again, but that's one thing that if they improve on it, they're making the odds of them winning that rematch even bigger if they go against them again in the grand finals.
Another rematch I'm excited to see, Kieran, is potentially seeing Tribe going up against Team Koso again. This is a series I didn't particularly expect this to go to 3 games. It was a bit of a banger, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, yeah, absolutely. Really, really good series. I'm very much looking forward to watching that one if it does go that way. Interestingly enough, once we get to the brackets, I know there's been some spicy updates in Group A. So
okay.
I'm very much looking forward to talking about that once we get there.
No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but there's definitely some spicy updates that I think a lot of you guys are going to be interested in. But this looks like it could be a final. You know, the way they played, it could have been the grand final, especially that crazy Infernal Drake fight from this game. Absolutely nutty. And I really, really just think it was a great display of Wild Rift from both of these teams.
All right, and then also we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about our first game of the evening, which was, of course, Sunlight Team versus Cut Esports. Sunlight Team have got themselves a spot in the grand finals. Cut Esports taking the long way around in Group C as well. I don't think we've got any highlights from that one at the moment because we're watching the Unicorn of Love.
We caught them right at the start. They were right at the start of the replay package. Yeah.
I was so focused on listening in that I missed them. But yeah, I mean, Group C as well has been turned out to be really interesting. My favorite thing about that group, as we keep mentioning, is that there's so many teams in there that we're not familiar with, and we're starting to craft some narratives around these teams as they come into the Origin series.
Yeah, this very first Origin series is where history is truly being made for all of these European teams, and they're able to find an opportunity. I think that especially Sunlight has been able to set themselves apart of the other teams in Group C, and it's very fun. Apollo, right after that game, I didn't say it, but he said, "Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me now?" I'm like, okay, you had some good Baron steals. Okay, good job. But they feel like a very hyped up team, and given them right circumstance, they can perform really well. So now that they're going to be making it to the grand finals, and hopefully they're able to win that grand finals, I'm really hyped to see what they can do up against the teams of Group A that seem like the best group out of all these groups so far, and even a few of the teams like Unicorns of Love, like Trovo Nova of Group B. I want to see what they can do on the bigger scale of the Origin series.
All right, well, Kieran, I'm going to let you take this one because I'm going to pull up Group A's upper bracket. And I don't think that's where the spice is.
It's not the upper bracket,
I'm going to let you roll it over to the lower bracket when we see it,
It's not the upper
right?
bracket. And the upper bracket is what you've seen today. Tribe in the grand finals is fantastic. They beat out Team Queso. They had a really good run. They've had some pretty tough opposition as well. Cream Real Betis, Team Future, Team Queso. Like, it was a good run that they've had. But the spice is in the lower bracket, mate. The spice
let's bring that up.
is
Let's
in
bring
the
that
lower
up.
bracket.
Come on. There it is.
Game Lord are out. Game Lord got 2-0'd by Cream Real Betis. That's the spice, everybody. Cream Real Betis is the Spanish showdown in the lower bracket final between Team Queso and Cream Real Betis. And Game Lord got knocked out 2-0. And I was getting some live updates from the game as we were going. They were down like 6K 5 or 6 minutes into the second game. It was a rough one for Game Lord. And they are out of this Origin series. They ain't making it to LAN this time round. And they're going to have to bounce back for the second monthly final.
Well, I mean, there is no land. They could put plenty of time. Not quite accurate. They've got plenty of points and money to get.
True. Yeah, I know. But like you know, your first place does get you a good shot at
absolutely.
So there you go.
Feels like an episode of Game of Thrones. They just killed off one of the main characters. Game Lord that was looking like a finalist level team, while Cream Real Betis that was more of a underdog team, able to surprise everyone here. So going to show that Team Queso, they better be prepared. The team that has now beaten Game Lord is going up against you. So there's going to be 2 Spanish teams going up against each other. It could be any of these teams, but I'm hyped to see tomorrow's matches of Cream Real Betis versus Team Queso, because Cream Real Betis are definitely the big surprise of Group A.
Yeah, nice Spanish derby to wrap up our lower bracket in Group A. Let's take a look at Group B. We already know that Unicorns and Lover found themselves a spot in that grand final. Of course, Trovo Nova are going down to the lower bracket. We had a nice little recap of this one. Let's go ahead and look what's been happening and get an update on the results down there in the lower bracket to find out what Trovo Nova are going to have to go against. So we're still waiting on the results from Mortal Shot and BKROG Esports. We'll hopefully get those in overnight, and we'll be able to update you tomorrow. I'm assuming we'll get the results tonight at some point. But let's keep it moving in. Let's go to Group C. There's no real more information here. Sunlight team, they're in the grand final, and to the lower bracket where the juicy stuff should be. All right. Cut Esports going up against Off Meta. So Off Meta have knocked out GK Esports. They'll be playing in the lower bracket tomorrow.
I'm intrigued. Cut Esports versus the likes of Sunlight rematch would be interesting. I think there was very clear moments of kind of greatness in general, I would say, for Cut in those matches. Didn't quite make the cut at the very end. A little bit of play of words there, but they can make it work out in the finals very clearly, especially because now they have encountered this team. They got a little bit more used to how they play, so Sunlight better be a little bit more cautious of how they approach those grand finals if they do have a rematch. If not, well, we'll see how that'll work out, of course, hitting day 3. But Cut, I think that they could make the rematch potentially happen. This seems like the most possible rematch out of all these groups so far.
I think when we're looking towards tomorrow, guys, Team Queso versus Cream Real Betis. It was not the game we knew we wanted, but it is now, because if Cream Real Betis are good enough to knock out Game Lord and put them at such a disadvantage, as Kiernan said, I'm excited to see what they end up doing to Team Queso in the lower bracket, because I honestly have no idea who Tribe are going to be going up against tomorrow. I'd be happy with the rematch from today, as I've already said, but I also want to see what's happening with Real Betis.
Yeah, I think Real Betis, I've surprised a lot of people coming into this tournament. They have, I think, been the upset of Group A so far. Definitely providing a lot of entertainment for kind of like a lot of the big teams, really struggling up against them. But I think this will be a test versus Team Queso 100%. But we have got some banger games tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to all of them, Trid.
And a lot of respect paid by Coldstar at the end of that last game there, saying that he honestly thinks that Trovo Nova are good. He's pleasantly surprised by Mortal Shot and BKROG Esports. That's going to be our lower bracket final from Group B. Max, what are some things that Trovo Nova need to fix going into tomorrow? Some weaknesses that you saw from today that they can mainly adapt heading into that lower bracket final?
I'd have to go on some of the players being out of position. That's the one thing that I've especially noted, especially on that second game where it was a little bit all over the place. They still won at the very end. But if they can just focus on that, and especially communication in those big fights, that could help them out tremendously. So yeah, Trovo Nova already proved themselves as being a really strong team a few months ago, but now they're actually being contested and challenged on a lot of these games. So consistency is going to be key, and Trovo Nova, if they do at the end go for that rematch, they should be even more prepared on their matchup versus Unicorns of Love.
All right, then that's all for tonight. We're going to go ahead and close things off. We'll be back here tomorrow for the lower bracket finals. I'm going to be joined by some new faces and an analyst desk as well. So we're going to level it up once more. You don't want to miss Origin Series Day 3.